Give
But
me a second.
I
I will start at
gotcha.
3, 2, 1. Now. Okay, we're good.
Fantastic. I'm happy to be on the Animarchy stream. I finally made it.
Yep.
I'm a true respected history YouTuber. But I believe that the left has primarily focused itself with obstructing American foreign policy, whether that be trying to stop the war in Iraq, trying to stop the war in Afghanistan, trying to stop the blockade on Cuba. I'm not saying these are bad things. Trying to stop the drone war, trying to stop us from intermediating in Syria. And I'm not even necessarily saying these are bad things. But when that's your primary focus, I think that they just inherently, due to the size of the military industrial complex and how America seems focused on solving every problem with a gun, when there's a solution that actually has to be solved with weapon shipments, they get very nervous because, weapons are bad, weapons are scary, weapons kill people. But we also live in the real world, and if you want to achieve things like the liberation of a nation state, weapons might sometimes be necessary. If we talk about the liberation of the Algerian people and their struggle against French colonialism, or the same thing when we talk about Portuguese colonialism, or British colonialism, or French colonialism in Vietnam, we talk about weapons being used for liberation and them fighting. It's very easy to have a long soliloquy about why the Vietnamese fought for their independence and it was morally correct and it was fine for the Soviets and the Chinese to support them. It was fine for the Soviet to support these anti-colonial struggles in Africa, but they've never been in the position of supporting this type of anti-colonial struggle before. At least a lot of young lefties, for sure. And so I think they don't know what to do. They don't know how to interact with it. They don't know how to make America present on the world stage and doing something that is productive. They did productive when it comes to weapon shipments. That's a scary thing that I don't think they're familiar with.
Well, the thing is with like anti-colonialist stances in the United States is that the modern left inherited the spirit of Marxist leftist movements back in the original movement from the 1930s onwards, right? From the 1920s, 1930s onwards. And so people sort of don't realize just how deeply ingrained the America bad brainworm is, right? And to be clear, like, as a lefty, there is still skepticism and,
By the way, when
cynicism
you say a
towards
lefty, what do you mean by that?
proper leftists, I would say. So maybe you're sort of generalizing to include liberals in the United States discussion. But
Well, when I hear people say lefty, sometimes I'll hear people like include like Joe Biden in that assessment, right? But when I hear lefty, I think like socialist, right?
yeah, that's what I think too.
Okay, got you. So would you include social democrats in that, or just like socialists, or people want to build a communist society, like anarchists and stuff like that?
I would include I would include social democrats in the
Got
leftist
you.
sphere, mainly because, like, it's kind of hard to say, but I would sort of include I would include the Bernie Bros in that discussion. I would include the Bernie Bros. Um, but like that's I wouldn't class a normal American Democrat in that discussion way, because the normal American Democrat and the average liberal in the United States doesn't actually know what they believe. They just sort of pick the thing,
Hmm.
and then they get bored immediately afterwards. Which is, you can say that a lot about the 24-hour news cycle and how that works in the American public consciousness. But whenever I see American politics, whenever I see American politics being discussed, it's always like when you ask a liberal what their position is, they'll always say something categorically like, I believe this is the thing that I believe. And then you'll offer them something completely contrary to that ideology, and I'm like, I also believe that. Like, you can't have both. Liberals will switch their position depends on what's morally and politically convenient. And that's my big issue with liberals. It's one of my controversial takes that I always get in trouble for, which is, I have more respect for some of the further right individuals than I do for liberals, because even though their position to me personally is morally reprehensible, they actually believe something and they'll stand up for it. Liberals generally don't. So that's the
Huh.
difference I will say between a liberal and a leftist, is that a leftist has actual convictions and beliefs that they'll stand on, rather than a liberal who generally doesn't. And
Well, okay, this is the problem. I have with this though, and I hate to immediately get into the pushback and be a debate pro, but when we talk about liberal, that's like the to be a liberal. When we say like actually liberal, not like Democrat liberal, but I mean like liberal as in you believe in liberal democracy, you believe in like capitalism, but like some social safety, like liberal as in you believe in liberal institutions and a liberal society. That is the default position in any liberal state. And so when you talk to the majority of people who could be defined as liberals in that sense, I mean, you're talking to the vast majority of the general public.
Yeah, you
and
are.
so when you're talking to the vast majority of the American public, the vast majority of the American public are not going to be able to have an in-depth discussion defending the American system or the system of checks and balances or like liberal democracy. But if you talk to somebody who maybe is like a liberal internationalist or somebody who's more involved in politics is a liberal, in my experience, they can, in many instances, defend their ideology. But the thing is, when you have the default ideology, you're gonna have a lot of people who ascribe to that, even if it's through default, that are just not gonna know a lot about it because they just kind of go through life. They don't study politics.
The counter I would offer to that is the fact that you just have to take one look at what's happened to the GOP and the Republican Party to realize that principled liberal discussion is absolute horseshit. Because the moment, like, we keep hearing about this, oh, it's just the radical Republicans and the MAGA fascists who are taking over. It's not that's not a problem. Yet, where are these so-called reasonable Republicans? Where are they? I don't see them.
There's not many of them left.
They all defected.
Seem to be
retiring. The moment the MAGA movement started gaining traction and started gaining popularity, the moment they started getting a little bit of an edge, people just defected en masse. Like burning books, like persecuting LGBT people. Fine, we're going to do the whole lot. The principled, moderate Republicans immediately switched sides the moment they saw the way the wind was blowing. And that's my point. It doesn't matter what like liberalist branch you're talking about, whether you're talking a liberal lefty or a neo-lib on the right, like your George Bush types. It's the same principle. Once they sense a change in the wind, they'll switch. Why? Because it benefits them. Like, honest to God, this is me getting a bit spicy now. Do you think the Clintons, like Hillary Clinton, believed in anything? Like, actually anything? You look at their positions, like, I believe...
Like anything?
Like, if you look at Barack Obama, for example, when he initiated his campaign and they were going out campaigning in 2008, when they asked about the gay marriage question, he basically said, I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. Fast forward, the moment it became politically expedient in the public to say, oh, gay marriage is a popular thing amongst Democrat voters, all of a sudden, Hillary and Obama are the champions of the LGBT community, all of a sudden. Like, and you can say this is just politicians in general, but the thing that I've noticed that makes the MAGA movement so popular, and the same thing with Bernie, is they actually have ideological consistency. Fucked up a lot of the time it is, they at least have an ideologically consistent position, more or less. And that's
I would say...
And that's what's gravitating.
When we talk... I think when we talk about a lot of the people who... So, when you say liberal, I do want to know, do you just mean anybody who has any reference to the word liberal, like they believe in liberal institutions or believe in like the idea of a liberal democracy, period? Do you mean people who are on like the quote unquote liberal left, we would say like generally Democrats, people like Hillary Clinton, people like Obama? Or what do you mean when you say the word liberal? Because the word liberal has been politicized to no end.
Yeah, look, I'll be real. When I say liberal these days, generally speaking, I'm referring to Democrats, because I used to refer to centrist and moderate Republicans as liberals as well, for the same reason that you outlined, but they're gone. They joined.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get to the bottom
fascists.
of, because if we're talking about the centrist or moderate Republicans, in my experience, like Mitt Romney, he's dropping out of politics, right? Yeah. He's releasing like a tell-all memoir that's basically like, all of you guys suck, fuck you, and then he's retiring, right? And who knows who's going to take his place. But outside of those few people, right, would you count them, the people who have decided to get in line behind Trump, would you call those people liberals in any sense?
No.
Because because it's hard for me, like, I don't know how I am going to answer for them if we don't both consider them liberals. Okay.
would you consider, I hate to use the infamous term ad Hitlerarem, but would you consider people who fell in behind Adolf Hitler or Benito Mussolini? Would you consider?
No, I would
liberals?
say those people who use liberal institutions cynically to try to achieve illiberal aims, which is what I think. I mean, I'm not going to say Donald Trump is Adolf Hitler, but I do believe he has illiberal aims, and you can just listen to him talk and he'll explain. Yes, once I get in there, I want to go after all my political. I'm going to arrest them. I'm going to go. He's like very, very open about it.
Yeah. So someone in the comments actually, someone in my comments actually just made it a good point, which is exactly what I've been saying for years. The difference between a Republican and a Democrat is that the Democrat is an evil corporatist bastard and lies about it, and the Republican is an evil corporatist bastard who's honest about it. That's basically the difference between the two. And
I don't.
the big difference. I mean, going out of reactionary politics, obviously, because I just honestly. Whenever I know it's polarization and media polarization, and I don't live in America, so it's not my right to say, etc., etc. But when I hear that there are Florida schools saying that they want to teach kids that slavery was good, actually, how does that happen? How does that actually happen?
What I think I'm trying to remember what you're talking about. I think I heard the story. From what I know, the story is that they want to talk about both the good and bad aspects of slavery. And when you were at what do you mean the good aspects?
I think slavery.
The response was well, they might learn good farming techniques. It was absolute ridiculous nonsense. But this is stuff that I actually remember hearing when I was growing up. And I grew up in a household that's supposed to be I would say liberal leaning. I remember being told well, yes, but our family was good slave owners in comparison to the bad slave owners. It's something that I think exists. That type of narrative has existed, especially in Southern communities for a very long time. I just think that this is people who haven't maybe been aware of it. It's kind of sniffing upwind, going upwind a bit. And that's been part of Southern curriculum for a very long time.
Yeah, well, this is what I'm sort of saying. I mean, we're here to talk about Ukraine, but we can't talk about the Ukraine issue I want to talk about without getting into the reactionary policies of the far right in the United States, because that is the biggest issue I have with all of this. Is it comes down to where the priorities of each party are going. And it seems to me that the Democratic Party has no other political position. There's no other political position other than maintaining power and power for their corporate donors. For me personally,
that's the Democrat position.
That is the Democrat position. I don't see the Democrats.
Man,
taking a moral stand on anything.
I could not disagree with you anymore.
The Democrat position, I couldn't actually. Maybe it's just my hard lefty cynicism, and because I'm a foreigner, okay. I'm seeing from the outside. I just don't see.
We can talk about a few things. Do you know anything about the recent NLRB decisions? This is a big thing that Democrats are just 1,000,000% better than the Republicans on, and that has to do with union relations, and that has to do with labor relations. Do you know about the recent NLRB decisions?
Okay, go.
So the recent NLRB decision, and this is a big thing, and this is I think a sizable difference between Joe Biden's administration, which, working class Scranton Joe has been the idea for years, or at least the marketing for years, versus Donald Trump, who put a union buster to head the National Labor Relations Board. And I was working with healthcare workers unions in the DC area when he was president, and his only role in the NLRB was to just compromise the unions. That was it. Now, Biden's NLRB has been a lot more aggressive and a lot better. They recently came forward with a ruling, and this is probably one of the biggest changes in labor relations in the last 30, 40 years, that decided that if a company engages in union busting or a company violates the rules of the process during a union election, then there is no vote. The union's just created, period. Whether there's a vote or not, the union's created immediately once a company violates any labor law during that process, and they have to negotiate a contract with them, no questions asked. That is a massive shifting of the burden off of the workers to the employers. That is a big decision for the NLRB that empowers workers. And that's just one of the decisions they made. They increased, I think, overtime pay from the 33K to 50K. The specifics of it are a little complicated, but there have been multiple decisions from this NLRB, which I think are substantially different from the Republicans. And so that's why I get a little antsy when I hear people say, Democrats and Republicans are all the same, because I can see the substantive policy difference. Roe v. Wade is a great example of that. If Hillary Clinton would have won, whether she believes in what she says or not, we would still have Roe versus Wade. She would have gotten those 3 Supreme Court nominations, and whatever you think about Hillary Clinton, she defends a woman's right to abortion. And we would have had a significant difference in the United States when it comes to a woman's right to choose if the Democrats won that election. There are substantive differences that I think people play down a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not going to argue that the Democrats are a better option than the Republicans, but I would say...
You mean the reverse than that? You mean the reverse of that?
Yeah, well, okay, look. Let me put it this way. The policies that you're seeing right now under Biden and so forth, I have seen those same policies advocated by the neoliberal establishment in the 90s under George H.W. Bush, for example. Like... You like if you look back at like the neoliberal positions,
the drug price negotiation is probably the best example of that. That has been like a Democrat talking point for 30, 40, 50 years.
You look at like older sort of, well, for lack of a better term, you look at the moderate Republicans and the moderate, quote, populist Republicans back in the day. I don't think they would have been as hostile now. My argument is that I would say that the reason why the Democratic Party has done the same thing that Australian parties did, which is during that period at the end of the Cold War and the sort of capitalist boom and so forth, there was this just swing to the right. Like after 9/11, there was this huge swing to the right across the world, and it's still going. But I will admit that I have seen the increased labor union activity in the United States. And as a former union rep for my union, the United Workers Union, that makes me very, very happy. I was a union rep in my office for years. Which is why I got fired from my first full-time job, incidentally, for agitating a bit too aggressively. But
that I would frame that in my home. I'd frame that police report.
The TLDR of that was I basically started aggressively organizing the workplace, so they kept auditing me over and over again. And what they eventually got me on was I found my company was trying to basically force retirees to pay cancellation fees on some of their products, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm not doing that." and they picked it up and said, "You helped them defraud the company." I'm like, "They're fucking 80 years old in a retirement home. They can't afford it, man." And he's like, "Doesn't matter." I'm like, "Well, shit, fair enough." But I saved at least 30 people's jobs while I was there, so that's one of my proudest accomplishments. And there's a time I almost got arrested while storming a chemist during an industrial action. But anyway, less I say about that, the better. So yeah, pro-union activity is always a good thing. But I would say that I think the big cynicism is when you're looking at it from the outside in. Yeah, we don't have the aspect. We don't see a lot of the minor on-the-ground things that you're mentioning about how the Democrats are better than the Republicans. What we do see is...
Oh, wait. I don't want to... I just want to be clear. I don't think the NLRB thing... I think it's one of the main reasons I'm voting for Biden in this election. I don't think it's a minor thing, right? I do think... I see the increase in union activity in the United States, and I'm greatly proud of it. I think it's fucking fantastic. But if the rules are not shaped to benefit workers so they have good leverage at the negotiating table, then that activity will be stunted, and it will wither, and it will decay, and it will evaporate. It has to have a strong foundation, and a good NLRB is necessary for that. So I don't think it's a small thing. I do think it's a significant thing.
Well, I would argue I would invoke the words of Rosa Luxemburg, in that every reform and gain made in the process of social democracy and liberal democracy must be rigorously enforced and maintained by a militarized working class. So if you want my opinion on to sort of close this discussion and move to what we're actually supposed to be talking about, join a fucking union. That's for everyone in this chat. Join your union. If you have one, join one. If you don't, start one. Doesn't matter if
Yes,
you're left or right.
unless
Doesn't
it's
matter.
for YouTube editors. If it's for YouTube editors, then you guys already got enough. You don't need anything.
I'm my own editor. I don't need one. I'm ethically bound not to have one, which is why my content release is so slow. I should probably hire one, but I feel dirty. I'm the same as Laserpig on that regard. I feel like I don't want someone touching my stuff, right? Because I feel like the style is so distinct.
You know what union I want to start and help organize? I want to organize a union for all of the maids that have to clean the dirty ass rooms of streamers. And I want to organize a strike where they all strike at the same time on stream and like start, "We will not clean your dirty shit," just like yelling it on stream. I want to start that. I want to start that movement.
As I said, this is the reason why I try to network with as many creators as possible. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're doing it as a cynical thing to grow your channel." I'm like, "No, that is a side effect. No, my actual goal is to unionize YouTube. I'm trying to unionize creators. I'm trying to get."
And that is a lofty goal, man. Wasn't that Slingshot channel tried that a few years ago?
Yeah, and he didn't get anywhere. But
seemed like a nice guy.
Unionize YouTube is what you want to do. Unionize YouTube creators, because that's the big issue you see. YouTube staff went on strike and held industrial action recently.
By the way, IP. Can you send me like an IP?
Yeah, sure. I'll host the game. Animarchy password. You know what the password is?
Yes, I think I remember.
Hold up. So, let me get my chat back up. Thank you, Avery. Dude, I know there's a Girls and Panzer mod. There's an anime mod for pretty much everything in Hearts of Iron, and thank God for it. Ignore my friends, Vladimir Putin and Thundercunt the Maleficent. They are... game, can I just invite to game? There you go. And just join.
Oh, that's much easier.
So, who do I want to play as?
I think I'm gonna... I know the person who designed the focus tree for Ukraine, so I feel like I have to. So I can go back to them and tell them if I like it or it was garbage. So I think I'm gonna go with that. But it feels a little cliche, doesn't it?
No, we're all about cliches here. Makes sense. Oh boy. Let's have a look.
Oh, I forgot the password. There we go.
To be able to join. The only mod I have active is Kaiser Redux, so I hope you've got that as your only mod.
Oh, I've got like a few, I think like texture packs and music mods, but that's not a problem, is it?
No, it's not a problem.
Nope, it is not a problem. Yes.
Alright, Union of Britain. Let's go.
Oh, Union of Britain? You know what?
Cynicalism shall spread.
There's a chance we might be on two ends of this war. The Ukraine is very hard. I think I actually haven't done the socialist track in Ukraine. I think it might make sense for me to try that. But it's hard to imagine that between a revanchist Russia and the German Empire that a socialist Ukraine is going to have much luck, is it? But you know what? Whoever said that we took Ukraine's always been the underdog. Okay, so we'll see what we can do.
And so that leads us into the main discussion. Now I can finally weigh into what Hasan's viewers were going through for the past 3 hours. Hasan Piker's takes on Ukraine are some of the worst shit I have ever fucking heard. I can't stand that man.
Damn.
I literally can't. I cannot stand Hasan Piker. He is one of the worst things to happen to the left in a very long time.
So one of the worst things that happened to the left in a very long time. That's a big statement.
If we're talking, well, if I say that materially, I'm of course not talking about work choices, the disemboweling of unions, the suppression of the working class. I'm talking in a purely social consciousness aspect. He is just...
You think he's bad for the left socially?
Yes.
Like from a
yes.
bringing consciousness thing?
Yes, he is. He is absolutely the worst. I don't often like to play the "oh my god, socialism is when no iPhone," right? I don't like to play that game. But there is something a bit off how you can go off and rail against American imperialism, stand up and dunk on all these people and yell and scream and carry on about how, you know, leftism is important, and then own a $2.3 million mansion in California and drive a Ferrari. All right? I know, look, I know it's like, you know, having an iPhone doesn't make you less of a socialist. Yeah, I know, but there's a big difference between having a capitalist luxury that you use for day-to-day stuff and owning a Ferrari, right? I think there is a big difference there. And the idea that he can sit there and lecture millennials and Zoomers and, like, lead this charge of progressive reform and, you know, workplace and the crusading for the left, and then turn around and basically act like, you know what, he is literally the Politburo, is what he is. He's like, he considers himself, you know what I mean? He is literally a Politburo rep. He is, yes, I am the leader of the workers and peasants, which is why they will drive me around in my ZIL automobile. You know, that's the kind of vibe he gives off.
What car could he get that would satisfy you? What's the upper limit of a cool car that he could get? Like, could I get like a Monte Carlo? Would that be too much if I was a socialist?
Honest to God, like, I drive a Chrysler, so.
Because let me be real. If I had the money Hasan had, I don't think I would buy the car he has, but I would probably be buying an expensive vehicle of some sort. Honestly, it'd probably end up being a Lada, but that would be expensive if I had it in the United States.
If I was,
because all the parts would be expensive to import.
What car would I drive? You know what I would drive? I would drive, honestly, if I had that kind of money, I would drive, like, late 90s JDM. I'd drive
a black shiny M?
Late 90s JDM, so Japanese domestic market. So R32 Skyline, Supra. I don't
buy no foreign cars.
I would really like, I mean, I'd have to lose a lot of weight to fit in it. But I'd really like to own, just to say I own one, I'd like to own a Toyota A86. I'd like to own a Trainer. I would like to own one. Just because my weeb cred demands that I own one. But, like, in all seriousness, I just feel like there's a big gap in what Hasan sort of stands for and what he preaches to what he actually fucking does. Like, but we're talking about his Ukraine takes. He talks about, he's doing the same thing that fucking, like, he's not as bad, I will say. So I will say that. But he's doing the same thing as fucking that YouTuber History Legends does, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm pro-Ukraine. I'm definitely pro-Ukraine. But I think they should surrender. You know, because it's good. Because it will save lives. Them surrendering will save lives. So it's good. Russia's actually winning. Russia's going to win. We all know they're going to win. The West can't possibly support them. They can't even make the ammunition, you know. There's no way. So, you know, the best thing for everyone to do is for them to just roll over and accept it and die. That's just it. That's just it. You know, that's how it is.
The argument that Hasan makes is that by continuing the bloodshed for what he called, I think, like, just a little bit of territory, or just like some territory. He called it, I think, some inches of land, I think is what he specifically said. You're just extending the bloodshed pointlessly. That was what he said in the thing we just watched.
I'm going to get real spicy here, and people are going to yell at me for making false equivalencies, but alright. Get in your time machine. Go back. Go talk to the Apache or the Cherokee or the Indigenous Australians and say, okay, look, guess what? You're just going to have to surrender. You're just going to have to give up. You see, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. You might as well just roll over and die. Your people will be forcibly integrated into this culture, but don't worry, they will be alive, and that is fine. What kind of response do you think that's going to get from people? Like, at what point people going to be like, you know what, it's fine, just let them take it. Like, you know, that's going to be the price. That's going to be the price. Okay. Have you... My biggest issue with all of this, and I keep saying it, is... No, whenever we discuss this, no one asks the Ukrainians what they think.
True.
No one asks them. Like, everyone's like talking about what Russia should do or what America should do. There's no one asks the Ukrainians. It's their country. Don't you think they might have a say in how this goes?
True.
Like, you're living there amongst them. You talk to them every day. From what I've seen in your videos, they don't seem inclined to negotiate for shit.
No, man.
They're gonna march on Moscow and they'll be damned.
I only have met one person who has even suggested that negotiations at one point is something that they could accept, and even they said that would only be acceptable after all other avenues had been attempted to liberate the land, which I think is reasonable. But the idea that all other avenues have been attempted at this point is an absolutely ridiculous thing to assume. It hasn't. All other avenues haven't been attempted. No. What really got me about Hasan and a lot of people's commentary on like ending the bloodshed is it assumes that if they were to do a ceasefire, that would end the bloodshed. When Minsk 1, and he literally said we need to do Minsk 3. But if we were to look at Minsk 1 and 2, we know that it failed to end the bloodshed, that the violence continued, the mines were still in civilian territory, there was still shelling that continued, people still died, and they kicked the can of the main violence of the ATO, of the anti-terrorism operation, down the road until today. And so what would stop, number one, this can being kicked down the road, and so next time there's just going to be more violence a few years later, so you've bought maybe a few years of some peace, because there'll probably be violations during that time, for the Russians to attack again in the future when they're more prepared, right? What is there going to be put in place to disincentivize future Russian invasion? And there's also the process of occupation, which is horribly violent and includes deportations, the seizing of people's property, and the recent report from the Kyiv Independent was really horrific when it talked about what they called was the systematic murder of children with small arms fire in occupied territory. They showed a few examples, which I thought were absolutely horrific. There is torture, there is mass graves, there is extrajudicial executions. When they say end the bloodshed, he means end the military advances, end the offensives, end the military fighting. It would not end the bloodshed. They would just basically guarantee there's nobody coming to occupied territory to end that bloodshed. The bloodshed would just move its focus.
Yeah, people, do you think, even if we force them to make some arrangement, it works under the assumption that the people in the occupied territories, it's very hard to get up because, for obvious reasons, they stay very quiet about it. But I have taken great strides to keep up with resistance activity behind Russian-occupied lines, right? Do you think these people are just going to stop? Just because some guy, did the Irish stop after the settlement? Did the Donbass just sort of stop from 2014? Did any of this sort of stop? You think that there's going to be some, we're all going to sort of go, all right, sign the treaty. Cool. We're gonna.
Just if you look at occupied territory and how locals reacted, there's car bombings, there's assassinations. If anything, I think a lot of the soldiers who were fighting, many of them would probably be disgusted at the giving up of that territory. Many of them might quit the service and might go and try to engage in a type of guerrilla war against occupation. And you could see maybe something similar to the Irish Troubles period.
Yeah, you will.
And so what you've done is, instead of fought to end the occupation with, much more intense violence on the front line, and you've shifted that violence, or at least the focus of that violence, to either occupied territory or violations of the ceasefire, as we had over the last 8 years. So I feel like a lot of this is more about the aesthetics of peace than actual peace, which I don't think is ever going to happen until either A, all the Ukrainians in occupied territory are gone, or B, the Russians are gone. And obviously, I think the second one is better.
Yeah, the second one is better.
And when I say the Russians are gone, I mean pushing out the Russian government, obviously.
All right, so Taras Shevchenko asks, for both of you, what are 4 aspects of the war Ukraine is performing best in? What are the 4 in most need of improvement?
Um, I think that the Ukrainians have shown. I think one aspect that they've done very, very well in is being extremely adaptable, extremely flexible. I think that is very
Yeah,
obvious from the early days. They've been very adaptable, very quick to adapt to an ever-changing situation. I think number two has been the drone war, which the Ukrainians have excelled at in using drones, even since they started the war, to effectively resist. I think the third thing has been the rally around the flag effect in Ukraine, which has been, I think, a lot more effective than in Russia. People signed up for territorial defense super quick. There wasn't like a rush to the stations across Russia to recruitment centers once the war started. There were some people who did, not on the same scale as in Ukraine. And so I think they mobilized very quickly, and I think that's something that happened in the early days, but I and isn't talked about as much anymore, but is something I want to give props to. The fourth thing they've done very well, and I think they've done much better than the Russians, is make their case on the international stage, which is essential for getting shipments of aid. So I think they're much better diplomats than the Russians have been in this war, and it's part of the reason why they're so competitive in the war. As for things that they can improve upon, I think that demining is one of the big ones. They need more demining equipment. They need more demining vehicles. They need more mine detectors. They need more metal detectors. They need more everything. They have, I think, about 4,000. If we're being generous, they have about 4,000 to 5,000 CESU demining workers in the country. When Ukraine, according to its environmental minister, is the most mined country in the world, with 1/3 of its territory covered by mines, and the estimations I'm getting from my friends is that they're going to be doing demining work for the next 80 to 100 years. Which means that there are Ukrainians being born today that will die before the mines are gone, which
yes.
is an absolutely baffling thing to think about. So that's something that I think is going to and the amount of mines that the Russians have put down, that the mines can really blunt any Ukrainian advances. And it's not only is it a humanitarian imperative, because I've found butterfly mines and anti-tank mines 20 to 30 feet away from the homes of civilians living in those homes, elderly civilians. That was in the Kharkiv Oblast. So that for a humanitarian aspect, obviously, is extremely important. But it's also unbelievably important for the counteroffensive to have demining vehicles and to have equipment that can deal with these wide fields. Because currently, what the Ukrainians are doing is basically in the nighttime sending out deminers and sappers into the dark, because that's when they can, they're the safest from drones and strikes, because of, the dark gives them cover, and they just demine try to find like a line or demine like a strip of land that troops can march through and armor can get through, which is extremely dangerous work, and it would be sped up with more equipment. So that's something I think that can be improved upon. Three more, man. He gave me 3 and 3. He gave me 4 and 4. Another thing I think that the Ukrainians can improve upon, and they need to continue to improve upon, is going to be anti-corruption. The Zelensky government has gone after corruption more, but there needs to be a culture of, we go after all corruption, not just the corruption of people who it's politically expedient to go after, which is what has been the tradition in Ukrainian politics. And they are doing better about it, but most Ukrainians will tell them that they still have vast improvements to make. There is a corruption scandal about assets being given to a shell company, to a friend of government officials, to do like rebuilding efforts in Bucha. So that means like stealing funds that are necessary for rebuilding efforts in some of the most war-torn areas in the country. That shit's horrific and stuff that needs to be improved upon. What else does need to be improved upon? Obviously, Air Force is a big thing that holds the Ukrainians back. They need more F-16s. They need to build up their airspace. The stronger Ukrainian airspace is, the easier it's going to be for them to conduct these counteroffensive when they have air support, and it's going to be easier to protect Ukrainian airspace because more planes, it's easier to shoot down the missiles that are coming in, and so that'll make Ukrainian cities safer. What's the fourth thing they need to improve upon? Um, Fourth, I think they need to, their relationship with the press has been good, but I think they need to do more frontline embeds
Yes,
in a
they
lot
do.
of these. This isn't for necessarily like the effectiveness of the war, But I think there's a lot of stuff that's happening right now that isn't getting properly documented by third parties that should be properly documented by third parties and not just the press officers of these units. The press officers of these units on the front line, they're not going to take the time to highlight the harder struggles that these soldiers go through. And I think a lot of moments that we've gotten that shows the real humanity of the war is can really only be done by independent journalists. And I think there is an importance of making sure that the first drafts of history, which is what journalism is as good as possible. Not only because we want to make sure that we have an honest retelling of events, but we need to preserve this history for the future generations of the people who are going to live here so they can truly appreciate what was sacrificed for them.
It really is strange to think. It really is strange to think, being a trained historian on that regard, that like directly participating in writing that first draft is what we're all doing, and it is really sort of strange. Like, because I never thought I'd be in that position to do it. And I think you're right. PR and journalism is something that Ukraine does really need to improve on. Because there have been a lot of actions taken by Ukraine's press, which hasn't been the best approach with reaching the Western public, at least in my view. Like, the guilt trip angle worked initially because of how shit the situation was. But now there's a lot of building resentment in some of the right sectors of, you know, other countries.
Right sectors.
Yeah. I use those words very intentionally. In some of the right sectors of other countries who are not so pleased with sending foreign aid. So I do think that PR is a big thing that Ukraine does need to improve. I think
I would say that Ukraine's done pretty well in PR. I think relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking, yes, but I still think there's room for improvement. The other thing I would say is that in terms of battlefield performance, I don't really have anything to say. Mainly because the Ukrainians are doing actually remarkably well with what they've got at the moment. That is the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing I would say for all these people who are skeptical about Ukraine's battlefield performance, is that Ukraine are doing remarkably well given what they have to work with. They don't have artillery superiority. They have artillery parity at the moment. And even then, it's not by volume. It's by
even that's questionable, but it is getting closer to that. It is certainly getting closer. I think that's something that when people talk about the counteroffensives, and I really don't like, I kind of think the one-dimensional view of the counteroffensive, which is people just simply look at land taken by like square mileage, and that's it. They won't look at the value of what land has been taken, like when they broke through the Surovikin line and how they continue to expand those breakthroughs. That isn't talked about as much in the Western press. It's some, but it's not emphasized enough. What also isn't emphasized enough is how much the counter battery fire has improved. And how the Russian soldiers down there are complaining constantly about how they don't have enough artillery, not only when it comes to shells, but also just artillery guns. Which is crazy to think that Russia, a nation state whose like military doctrine is bathed in artillery, is bathed in shrapnel, would ever have that type of a problem, but they do. And I think that is largely due to the fact that counter battery fire from the Ukrainians has vastly improved, and their artillery teams have gotten very, very skilled.
The other thing, of course, is that the lack of air power from Ukraine is their biggest operational problem. I have been saying this over and over again. That's why I've primarily focused on the air war in my content creation, because I've been trying to tell people this is what will win them the war. Getting them enough F-16s will be a game changer. And people are like, oh no, it's just a Western white elephant. It's not going to do anything. And that's not the point. If the Ukrainians get enough air power together where they can exercise an effective battle space control method over a sector of the front. It doesn't have to be the whole front. If they can get enough aircraft where they can get enough seed operations going, where they can get enough aircraft to provide cap, where they coordinate with Patriot batteries and other long-range SAM systems with those aircraft, utilizing Link 16, which the F-16 has. If they can get that over a sector of the front, and start putting warheads on foreheads, we will start seeing movement. The fact that they've been making the gains that they have while being completely outclassed in the air is remarkable. Actually remarkable. Like, the Russians can't...
American soldiers would never fight in the conditions that Ukrainian soldiers are fighting in currently.
No. Hell no. Hell no. The entirety of US doctrine is based around this situation not occurring. And that's some of the interviews we've seen from Foreign Legion veterans who've said that in a lot of cases, the guys, the school teachers, and the LARPers like me, who have joined up in the Foreign Legion, have actually done better because veterans of Afghanistan and Iraq have gone in there and realized, oh shit, I don't have an Apache or a B-1 that I can use to nuke whatever's in front of me. I'm screwed.
I don't know if I would say the LARPers did, but there are some that kind of made... Most of them are gone. I think the people who came here with no preset expectations from the war on terror are the ones that I think were more prepared for what happened here. Because there was a lot of people who came here who have experience of fighting men in caves armed primarily with AK-47s and RPGs and clandestine explosives, and they've never had to deal with an artillery barrage. They've never had to deal with, you know, jets flying overhead. I remember once I was interviewing a friend of mine, a Foreign Legion guy. It's on my main channel, my main YouTube channel, Dylan Burns TV. His name's Spaghetti Cossack. He's also a YouTuber.
Oh, he's a mate of mine. Kozak, he's a mate of mine. I know him. Yeah.
He's a good guy. We're gonna be meeting up again soon. He's trying to look in. Actually, I don't think I talked about that. But I interviewed him about his experience, and I asked him about this disconnect, and he said, I remember once they were in a shitty position when they were doing some recon work, and one of the people who had experience of the war on terror yelled out, "Call in air support." And his response was along the lines of like, oh, what, should we call in like an orbital cannon while we're at it? Get some space marines down here? What do you mean air support? It's very rare. That does exist every once in a while, but it's much rarer amongst the Ukrainians than it is the Russians. And what the Russians will do is, since the Ukrainians have anti-air mounted munitions that have been very effective at shooting out Russian jets out of the sky and shooting out helicopters, they'll stay right outside the range of it and then just lob rockets at the positions. So they're able to stay out of their range. Now, that's not terribly accurate, but still, that shot's down range.
It works. It's very good. And
oh, shit, I found Bakhmut. Oh, there's Bakhmut. It's marked on the map. Oh, well, I know where I'm making my defensive line.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, that's a good point. We should look at... that's one good thing that Kaiser Redux does do and Kaiser Reich does, which is... it adds all the Ukrainian cities in. Because, like, if you look in Vanilla Hearts of Iron, there's, like, what? 3? Like, Hasan isn't even on the map in Vanilla Hearts of Iron. There it is.
Beautiful.
Okay, so... Taraz.
Man, you even have Kiev. I can't believe that. Wow, that's
on tactical level,
everything.
I think the Ukraine needs 4 things. Longer energy munitions to reach the Russian heli airfields. SHORAD for Lancets. More long-range air defense plus F-16 for Russian Air Force glide bombs. And lots of demining engineering equipment. All correct. My biggest thing that I have been saying from the start, and I will keep saying, I will keep screaming it from the rooftops, is that they need SEAD capability, or SEAD. Suppression of enemy air defense. This is what we need. Step 1. We need JSOW, JASM, and we need Vipers with harms, and we need a lot of them. It'd be nice if we could give them some ALQ jamming pods as well. That'd be nice. But that's a bit of a... We don't want to run the risk of a Viper getting shot down with the latest American jamming pod, because that's a bit sketch. I'm not sure how the DoD is going to go with that. I personally would run the risk. I think it's worth it, but I'm very pro-Ukraine, so of course I'd say that. But even so, giving them the capability to... Like, if I may use my map in Hoi 4 here... You can see the Dnieper here, right? If you can get enough suppression of enemy air defense capability to, say, shut down this bit of the front, or the offensive is going here, down right here. There you go. Zaporizhia, around here. The offensive is going south here. If you could close off this sector of the front with suppression of enemy air defense, if you could shut down the air defense in this part of the front, and the F-16s can start getting JDAMs on targets, you will see... movement faster than we saw at Kharkiv. Just it. The biggest issue is the Ukrainians are having to demine by hand and then clear trenches World War One style. Like, whereas in offensives in the past, like even go back to World War Two with the Wehrmacht, you can call in a Stuka and nuke that bunker and just walk past it. The Ukrainians can't do that. They don't have the ability to do that. They have to go through every trench, every bunker, one by one, and they're losing men and equipment doing it. It sucks. We need to give them the ability to pick out a fortification, nuke it, and then just break through past it. Is what we should be doing. We need to give the Ukrainians...
You know, I'm looking at because the goal of the Ukrainian counteroffensive is Mariupol, or at least like getting to the Sea of Azov, but Mariupol is like the main one people talk about. In the Kaiserreich map, the distance between Zaporozhye and Mariupol is one tile.
Yeah, one tile. Right here.
We're fighting over one tile of space, boys. We're gonna take that fucking tile.
Are we ready to start the timer, by the way?
Yeah, sure. It said something at the start of this where you can actually... It gives you like a guide you can look up to know which path you want to choose.
Yeah,
so you know which
path
achievements.
guides. Click to view path guides.
Where is path guides? Do you know where that is?
Click on your flag in the top left corner, and then underneath your faction, it will show you your path guides.
Underneath my faction. Oh, there it is.
Scotland, Wales, Lawrence. Get an independent to get independent Scotland, Wales, Hobart, or Moseley. Oh. I do not want to play as Oswald Mosley.
Nation builds. In the political chaos of of Russia's civil war, a new nation was founded. A nation built upon centuries of dreamers and philosophers. The nation of Ukraine. First declared independent in July 1918, the self-declared Ukrainian People's Republic signed the notorious Bread Peace or Treaty of Berista and became a virtual protectorate of the German Empire. At the time, this was seen as a small price to pay for German and Austro-Hungarian troops driving the Bolsheviks out of Kiev and back to Russia. Ukraine became the breadbasket of the Central Powers, shipping grain back to Germany and Austria to feed their starving populations. However, German fears of impending defeat on the Western Front, promises of sweeping land reform from the People's Republic, persuaded German command to change their policy. On April 29, 1918, a German-backed coup overthrew the Ukrainian People's Republic and in its place established a Ukrainian state. The proclaimed hetman turned Ukraine into a military dictatorship. Reforms in the People's Republics were reversed, land confiscated during the UNR's tenure was returned to the upper class of landowners, and the hetman became the undisputed leader of Ukraine. Huh.
Yeah. What you want to do is you want to restore the Ukrainian People's Republic.
You mean President Bandera, I think you said? You said what was it? You said Batko Nash Bandera, Ukraine. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, we'll probably go People's Republic.
Oh, we don't.
But I've done that before.
We don't want to get into that discussion. Oh, I've gotten into a few fights over that with a few people in recent times.
Yeah, no, I don't like Bandera. I'm not a Bandera. I say Batko Nash Zaluzhny, man.
Yeah.
Batko Nash Zaluzhny.
Long live Cossack Pirate Man. Cossack Pirate Man is the way to go.
Absolutely.
Does chat know about Cossack Pirate Man?
Would you like to introduce him to Cossack Pirate Man?
I'm gonna get Cossack Pirate Man. Where is Cossack Pirate Man? Where is he? Where's Cossack Pirate Man? Isn't flag. All right. Cossack Pirate Man. Behold, chat. Cossack Pirate Man. Cossack Pirate Man. One of the greatest Ukrainians to ever lived. One of the most based men in history. We love Cossack Pirate Man.
Did you just get Oswald Mosley?
Did I just get Oswald Mosley? Oh,
I see
boy.
Mosley in the papers.
Oh,
it says
boy.
the Totalist Charter.
Yeah.
Is he in there?
No.
Damn, you're getting some Mosley. You getting some Mosley boys?
He's making some moves. He's making his moves. You want to know why we call him Cossack Pirate Man? It's because this is his flag. There you go. There you go. Cossack Pirate Man. Cossack Pirate Man. Absolutely based man. Behold, he is glorious. In case you guys are wondering, you can't read Cyrillic. I can't either, but I do know what this stands. It's death to all who stand in the way of the rights of working people, is what he says there, or rough translation. Nesta Makno is my boy, my guy, my don, my G. A very interesting story about Nesta Makno. He is basically, his position in like the Civil War, the Russian Civil War, is rather interesting because he, like, we talk about people in history who just chose violence. Nesta Makno chose violence, like straight up. Decided, nah, that's it. That's it.
I think he's cool because he wore a dress.
Oh yeah. Also telling Lenin.
I almost bought a bust of him. I saw a bust in a store. It was pretty cool.
It's very interesting how Nesta Makno's legacy is perceived, because he's very, very popular in anarchist circles around. I don't know what his contemporary standing in Ukraine is. I'm not, like, I know among Ukrainian anarchists,
people think he's cool, but like there are not many anarchists in Ukraine. There really aren't. I've met a few, but it's not like a very popular ideology. It's probably, I've seen more anarchists in Ukraine than I would see, I guess, in my own community. Maybe it's because of that history. I don't know, but it's still not a very popular ideology. They still like him because they see him as like a Ukrainian freedom fighter.
I know that like one of my favorite battalions that are formed at the start of the conflict was a bunch of anti-fascist football ultras from around of all places, from around Mariupol. Was one of the biggest things I saw at the start of the conflict. It's one of those random situations where you had, like, this is how bizarro world the political landscape of the war in Ukraine actually is, where you had anarchist and anti-fascist militias formed out of football ultras fighting alongside Azov defending Mariupol against the Russians.
Yeah, I believe Aiden English, actually, the English volunteer, I think he's actually like a left-wing anarchist, and he was fighting there as well. There's a lot of anarchists, I mean, not a lot, but there was anarchists that do fight along, like the ultra-nationalists. I mean, it's hard for people to understand when you're not in Ukraine, but when it's a war of national survival, anyone who wants Ukraine to survive becomes an ally of each other. When you mobilize the entire country, and we're talking about a country that's 1/10 the size of Russia, they're going to throw everything they can at the Russians. Literally everyone they can. Kraken, for example, I interviewed a Kraken commander recently. The Kraken was formed out of like former Azov veterans, football ultras, recon officers, whatever mishmash they could take together from Kharkiv in a day. And now it's probably one of the more elite special forces in the GRU's tool belt. But like all these different people in the Kharkiv area came together to make it. And there's a lot of units that just like mishmash together all the different locals. And so you get extremely diverse military. I've interviewed anarchists, I've interviewed people that are definitely like far right nationalists. I've interviewed people who are completely apolitical. The characterization of the politics of Ukraine's military has always been pretty wonky, especially now.
Yeah, because you've got the Kremlin getting like before the war started, one of the biggest parts of my skepticism was as a lefty in the West, I had always sort of gone through seeing Azov everywhere. And, that immediately makes you rather uncomfortable, right? But what's interesting is to find how the demographics of these different movements have changed since the war started. Because the far-right leadership of Azov, which sort of formed the basis of the unit, most of them are dead. They died defending Mariupol. And the actual demographics of what were formerly very far-right militias have been basically purged by the Ukrainian leadership to the best of their ability from what I've seen. Because it's fine if you need those radicals to crush an insurgency. But when you're fighting a full-scale war, people like that are just a pain in the ass. Right? So it's sort of a very it's sort of like a very difficult balance to strike. Like the changing demographics of all these different movements and positions. I think the real telling position is the post-war period is going to be where the sketchiness comes out, I think. Is what we're going to see. Because post-war countries always have a issue in political extremism on both the right and the left. So we will see how that goes. But as I said, I look forward to seeing that political development after I see the Ukrainian flag fluttering over the western end of the Kerch Bridge. And I'm going to be there to see it.
Did you see Hasan's statement about the Kerch Bridge?
No, I didn't see that, actually.
He said that attacks on the Kerch Bridge are war crimes.
It's a bridge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, it's a pretty bridge, though.
Yeah, it's a very pretty bridge, but it's a
very pretty bridge.
Like, what's his... Okay, so I didn't see that, so let's hear his reasoning for it being a war crime. Why is it a war crime?
Because it's also used by civilians. That was his logic.
Okay.
It's also the main artery of the Russian war effort.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he left out that information.
It's not like the civilians are like dark. The whole point of the war in one regard is to form a land bridge between Crimea and Russia, and the occupied territory forms one right now. So if you want to leave, you can just leave. And a lot of Russians have.
Oh, damn. I think I'm not, dude, there's so many different different what's it called? News bulletins and everything I'm clicking. I think I accidentally just chose the UVO. Oops. Well, I guess that's my path now. I always knew Ukraine would turn me into a Banderite.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Might as well. Going full in now.
Leftist Banderite thought.
Oh, I have to keep my opinions on that very, very under control.
Why do you need to keep it under control? What's your opinion? What would you believe something crazy?
Because my view on Stepan Bandera is quite possibly the least charitable of any. Well, let me just, not wanting to get too fine a point on it, I view Stepan Bandera in the same way I view Winston Churchill, or more controversially, even Robert E. Lee from the Confederacy, in that, yes, he is a very important person, he is instrumental in achieving Ukrainian independence, and he is rightly remembered as a person who fought very hard for an independent Ukraine. It doesn't change the fact that he was a bastard. He was a monster. He was a piece of shit. Like, he was awful. Absolutely awful. Like, there's no, like... It's the same... As I said, the reason I drew the comparison to Robert E. Lee is because Robert E. Lee got a nickname after the Civil War, which is the Marble Man.
The Marble Man?
Yeah. What he actually is and to what he's said to be are two very different things.
Why do they call him the Marble Man?
Because he's a statue. He's a symbol. He's not actually a man.
Oh.
Oh,
I get it.
Which British city will hold the Spark? The greatest syndicalist sporting event. You know what? Let's give Wales some love. Cardiff, let's go. But you see, what Bandera actually is, and what people in nationalist movements claim him to be, are two very different things. And what the general Ukrainian public, who aren't as well versed in their history, just like our own publics aren't well versed. Like, how many Americans do you know who know the ins and outs of the particular foibles of the founding fathers and how most of them were slave owners and, you know, intentionally included a part in the... How many American citizens know that in the Declaration of Independence there is an entire paragraph about defending the rights of white men against the savage Indian? Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how many know that? And Stepan Bandera is the same. He's very important for an independent and free Ukraine, and culturally speaking, he's a vital symbol, as it were. It doesn't change the fact that he was a ethno-nationalist, racist, anti-Semite who wanted to institute a hyper-centralized, militarist, practically fascist government in Ukraine to enforce those policies.
Uh-oh, I'm requisitioning Polish farms. Getting a little crazy over here.
See? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Dylan over here right now is going down the Stepan Bandera route. And as you can see, like, you know, requisition Polish farms, militarize, prepare for a coup. And then you go over to the other side and it's like, reform the Freikorps. It's like, yeah, guys, look, he's not a good guy. He's important, but he's not a good guy. Right? And that's how it is. Like, what the symbol is very different from what the reality is. Winston Churchill. I'm not going to just take shots at the Ukrainians. I'm going to take shots at us too. We have to be fair. Winston Churchill, savior of the West, defeater of the Nazis. He is single-handedly responsible for half the imperialist policies that continued throughout the post-war period, like, and during the war. Like, millions of Indians died of starvation due to policies he enforced. Avoidable policies. Avoidable deaths, mind you. The tragedy of the war in Vietnam. The war in Vietnam. The United States had an agreement with the Viet Minh, led by Ho Chi Minh at the time, to say, hey, after the war, you will be given your own state, a unified Vietnam, independent and democratic. You will get to decide. Churchill intervened alongside Charles de Gaulle, as they did with the Suez Crisis, and basically returned Vietnam to the French. They did the same with Africa as well. And when they did that, lo and behold, Ho Chi Minh's like, well, fuck it. If you guys are going to treat me like this, I'm just gonna join the Soviets and the Chinese. We could have had Yugoslavia in Asia if we'd honored our end of the bargain. We didn't.
What gets me about the whole Bandera conversation is it's only coming up because the Russians are using it as a justification to invade the country. So if you want to have a conversation about like Ukrainian like retelling of history not 100% being like fair or reflective enough on the atrocities committed by the nationalists, like that's fair, but that's a problem that exists in China, that's a problem that exists in the United States, it's a problem that exists in so many countries where the atrocities of the past are not properly acknowledged and the history is kind of rewritten, or like that's the problem of every country. We have statues to like Andrew Jackson in the United States. The last president we just had a painting of Andrew Jackson in his office.
Yeah, the man who is responsible for the expansion of slavery in the South and the worst colonial atrocities in American history. That man. Yes, he is. Seriously. That's my point. That's the problem I have with this discussion. It's not the fact that we need to have this discussion, because we do. Ukraine needs to sort this out, just as we in the West are trying to sort through our colonial fascist pasts, which we all have. We like to say we don't, but we do. The point is, if we engage in that discussion now, we are actively aiding the Russians, and I do not want to do that. Which is why I try to stay out
it's
of the
not even
discussion.
impossible to have the discussion. It's just have the discussion. I have had a discussion with Ukrainians before. In fact, in the interview I just released, I talked to a fan of Bandera, a Kraken fighter who likes him, and we bring up like the history that of collaboration with the SS, of like certain UPA factions and stuff like that. We just have the conversation frankly, but we don't frame it from a position of, wow, it would really solve this bad historical interpretation. Russian revisionism.
No.
That would be great. That would really solve this bad historical interpretation. What? No, it wouldn't. It'd make it worse. It would just push it in another direction.
That's the point. Trying to cope with our own past is the biggest issue. Like, and I'm not going to sit here and lecture the Ukrainians on who they should idolize, right? I'm not going to tell them. Because, quite frankly, my country, Australia, is responsible for the only successful post-colonial genocide. There are no native Tasmanians left. Period. None. Right? I'm not going to sit here and lecture people on morality and the history of a country, like the way we treat our indigenous people now. We're holding a referendum right now whether to recognize them in the Constitution or not, and almost half the country say no. Right? Like, let's be real here. I'm not going to lecture them on how they should be, but I think it's important that we all, like, as a principled anti-fascist, having someone who is, quite frankly, a fascist and Nazi collaborator, or at least his subordinates were, is having that person as a national hero is a discussion I think they should have. Because
the thing is, Ukraine is going through a period where they're actively there's heroics every day in this country. So I feel like there's more than enough national heroes that they could idolize in his place. Many other people that they could focus on. In fact, the Russians want the Ukrainians to focus on Bandera. Yeah. It helps them.
It gives them an argument. And the truth is, when you talk to Ukrainians, the average Ukrainian see him as the average Brit sees Churchill, and as the average American sees, like, Thomas Jefferson. They've been told in their school system that he was a good guy who fought for our independence, and that was great. Do they actually go into the deep discussions and the geopolitics and the material conditions about what happened and everything? No. Their school system doesn't do that. Fuck no. They don't need to know. All they need to know is that this guy is very important in Ukraine's history, and it was good, and we have a nation now, and he's a hero. That's it. Americans are told that about all their great heroes. And again, half of America's great heroes are fucking bastards. Almost all of Britons are complete and utter twats. Like, there's no getting around that. I think the ultimate thing, I think the last thing I'll say on this is that the biggest issue with great man history is everyone makes the assumption that if someone's a great hero of a country or something, that they're a good person and all that. No. The fact of the matter is, look at your politicians today. How many politicians or military leaders that you know personally right now are good people, like perfect people?
Well, no, there's no one like that. It's just when you get into heroics, what you're gonna do is you start putting people on pedestals, and once you put people on pedestals, it's very difficult to take them down and examine them critically. And then you get into kind of more, usually like a nationalistic type of historiography that isn't really about, properly documenting what were the motivations of the person and what led this person forward. It's mostly about creating heroes for people to rally around. Also, I see you in site chat telling me that I can still go People's Republic. I appreciate the advice.
I would say that what I'm getting at with this is that when you look at the politicians of today and the leaders of today, you see people like Trump, you see people like the Clintons, you see people like Biden. and you look at their histories, and you look at their what they're doing, they're all in bed with corporations. Most of them have shady shit that they've had covered up. If rumors are to be believed, the Clintons have had people removed, right?
I don't buy that.
Conspiracy theories, yeah, but again, given the power of the Bushes and the Clintons and how far back they go politically, it wouldn't surprise me if they have the influence to do it if they wanted. My point is, or even if we go to the current situation, Zelensky's a bit of an outlier. You look at Putin, you look at Yanukovych before the Maidan, you look at Poland, you look at Georgia Meloni in Italy, you look at all these people. These people, by the very fact that they have taken political power and they've gained power in their country, have had to step on others and crush others to get what they are. You cannot get into these big positions in history by being a good person. I would argue that 90% of these great people and great heroes in history are complete and utter bastards. And that is by design, because you don't get to be in a position where you can make history by being a good person. Now you can say there are outliers like Martin Luther King and leaders of famous political movements and struggles, but I would argue that's a different thing. When you're talking about geopolitics and countries and nations and wars and actually history-making stuff like kings and emperors and so on, the truth of the matter is you do not get to be in that position unless you are a bastard. And so, by very nature of that, it's just...
And in order to survive in a brutal, cutthroat world, you need to be somewhat brutal and cutthroat.
Exactly. Jack Catechus says it just right. Good people tend not to become great men. Theodore Roosevelt would probably be an outlier. Again, Teddy did some really sketchy shit in regards to indigenous rights. And, he basically advocated for American imperialism. American revanchism. But at the same time, speak softly but carry a big stick. Build the workers' palace. We'll rebuild Crystal Palace after the fact. But again, I would say though that Teddy is probably my favorite president of the United States. So there is that. I will say that. Excuse me. So I would say yes. So look, the great men of history, you don't get to be in power, you don't get to be a great man of history, a great woman of history, without being willing to do what it takes to get there. And that usually involves doing horrible things. That being said, as I was just saying just now, Teddy's the boy, mainly because busting for a trustin' or trust busting is always a good thing. Setting up national parks, also a good thing. That is true. And also, as a man, I identify with him in terms of masculinity, because this man just decided World War I kicks off. He's a former president. He's in his later years of his life. He suffered asthma and various other medical conditions. World War I kicks off. Teddy Roosevelt sends a letter to Woodrow Wilson. Send me in, chief. I'm ready. Let me lead an American expeditionary force to the Western Front. We're gonna put a boot up.
He feels like if somebody was to make a cartoon character, a version of it. You know what Teddy Roosevelt reminds me of? Yeah, have you ever seen anime American presidents?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where they're like burgers and cheeseburgers and hunting and killing and guns, football. That is him. That is him. He's like an anime version of an American president.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I love. That's what I love about Teddy. Man in the middle of an impassioned speech gets shot, punches the guy out. Wait a minute. Finishes his speech, then gets medical treatment. Teddy just doesn't give a shit. Leads a bayonet charge.
If he was just a random senator and that was alone his life, that enough would have been enough to make him a quote unquote great man.
He did a lot more, man. goat status. He still has goat status, in my opinion. He has a lot of problems, but he is
Oh
still
yeah,
the
'cause
best
you
American
gotta judge
president.
people. You have to judge people relative to their environment and setting.
Him and Lincoln are the boys, in my opinion. Him, Lincoln, and FDR. Although FDR's New Deal's amazing. Ignoring the isolationists and rearming the US, a good move. People don't talk about that, which I'm going to talk about in my video that I have on isolationism regarding Ukraine. FDR was squeaked by in the election before World War II. Barely. He won pretty convincingly, but thanks to the New Deal. But he managed to squeak a lot of policies to rearm the United States by Congress after the Neutrality Act. And he had to do a lot of work to get that done. If FDR hadn't been reelected, the United States would have gone into World War II with an army 1/3 the size it did. The United States started reintroducing the draft and rearming and getting guys together. Like, the army had gone from a border policing force of like 50,000 guys or something stupid, to 500,000 in between like 1935 to 1940, just before the war started, because FDR and the anti-neutrality faction got together and got organized and pushed through reforms and pushed through policies to get the war industry moving, to get it all set up, so when America eventually did get dragged in, because they knew they would be ready. If Landon had won, if the isolationists had beaten FDR,
Oh shit!
America would have been fucked. Royally.
I have a coup. Coup.
Oh no!
Got a coup. What's happening? Oh no, the German Empire has condemned my coup. Did I win? Oh, it looks like we took over. I think we took over. Did we take over? Yes, we did. We threw out the hetman. The German enforced hetman. So apparently my king is basically like a Ukrainophile. He's like a foreigner Ukrainophile.
Yeah.
So I feel very attached to him.
So you overthrew the hetman, you staged a coup?
Yeah, I overthrew the hetman and replaced him with a king who's basically like a foreigner, but he's like very he's basically, yeah, he's just a Ukrainophile. So it's it's a self-insert. Superior firepower or grand battle plan? Grand battle plan makes the most sense, I think.
Yeah, like it
God, do I love artillery.
You don't have the industrial capacity to sort of get... What's my...
True, and it's trench warfare, so it makes more sense, I guess.
Can't replace anyone. Can I do anything? So, military stuff. Do I have anything I can put in? Research and production? Industry?
Oh shit, who's leading my... I don't even know. Who's this guy? Who just got in charge of my country?
I'm just gonna hold
Who's
on
this
to
guy?
that for now.
Uh-oh. 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 That doesn't look good.
Let's start influencing the world, shall we? We're gonna send some Union missions overseas.
Did I just purge my military? Oops! Oopsie doopsie. Oh my god, I think I might have actually just purged my military.
Alright guys, if you give me 1 sec, I'm just gonna pause this right quick. I'll be right back. I just need to go to the gents. I'll be right back.
Let's see. This guy looks weird. Let's go with him. Uh-oh. Dylan's not kidding about not being able to talk about the game at the same time. No, I can't. I can't do the same. I can't talk about the game and talk about politics at the same time. Plus, not to mention, like, there's a million different, like, little, like, text prompts. I'm not reading all this shit. What are you guys, readers? Are you nerds?
Fuck reading. Oh. Man, someone needs to hurry up.
What needs to hurry up?
Summer.
Summer, got you.
I'm sick of cold.
You sick of the cold already? Winter's barely started.
Yeah, well, keep in mind that the Southern Hemisphere is a bit different, my guy.
True.
Oh, man.
But I would say the winters over here are probably a little worse.
Oh, what, in Eastern Europe? Sure.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
I like the colds. I do okay, but it gets biting cold over here.
No. Oh, man. You know, I've actually never seen snow.
You've never seen snow?
Never.
Wow. Nope. So what Amazonian tribe are you from?
Australia doesn't snow. Well, it does, but not where I live.
Like very specific areas, yeah.
Melbourne snows once every 10 years or so.
What do you think snow feels like?
Powdery water, I guess, like ice crystals, I'm assuming.
I mean, that is what it is. I don't know. Does it feel like powdery water? Wait, what's this? The totalists are gaining popularity in my country? Wait, what the hell? Oh, I let the socialists in. Oh, okay, well.
Good. That's good for me, at least. Cynicalism is on the rise, boys and girls. Spreading cynicalism. Yeah, you're right. Kaiser on speed 3. Let's speed it up to speed 4. Hope we don't desync. Oh no, we're pretty good. Alright. Oh. God damn.
So I guess I should probably go defensive doctrine.
Probably a good idea. Oh, man. I'm still reeling. One of the things that absolutely infuriated me listening to Hasan talk, and one of the things that really bothers me about leftists who say, oh, Ukraine should negotiate. They, when asked about how should they negotiate, right? What is the number one response they always say? Is that America should pull support and then force them to the negotiation table, right? That's what they're saying.
Yeah, basically.
Which then absolutely fucking infuriates me, because it then it boils down to, so what you're saying is that American imperialism should use American imperialism to enable Russian imperialism. Is what they're saying. And that's the one thing that absolutely drives me insane. How can you be a so-called anti-imperialist and then endorse a military invasion by a fascist oligarchy of a neighboring state, and then go, oh, America should withdraw support because we're opposed to American imperialism?
Or identify themselves as, through their opposition to the establishment, through their opposition to the United States, or a combination of both. And therefore, anytime they do anything that is in contrast to that, they see that as a problem. I actually know there is a family member of mine that is a hardcore Marxist. And when I say Marxist, I mean like Marxist, Leninist, like very, very hardcore. And he actually, once he drove me to get my passport to go here, but he wants the Russians to actually do well in the war because it can upset America's hegemonic control, and therefore maybe in the chaos the workers can gain. It's complete bullshit. It's complete nonsense. But I think it's because he has principally defined himself, and many others have principally defined themselves, in opposition to the establishment, in opposition to the United States. And therefore, since this is an American policy, and it is held by the American establishment, therefore they must oppose it, even if it serves the interests of an imperialist power. It's basically like a reactionary response, in a way.
Yeah, it really is.
Wait, what did I just do? I
Give
have
me a
no
sec.
clue.
It's this whole non-interventionism is just. I understand that the big thing is I understand that it's a leftover from the war on terror, and that's I can understand why people are tired of wars and forever wars, etc. Which is the big angle that
War is bad.
Is
Did
the
you know
big
that?
Yeah, war is bad.
Do you feel like a better? I feel like a better person now that they said that.
Yeah, right. Absolutely, war is bad.
War is bad.
War is bad, man.
Very, very bad. Sorry.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I just sometimes when I see this like the critique, it's like it's the most like base level. Like war is bad, and like since war is bad, we need to end it no matter what. And there's like no deeper thought to it. Like, well, what if it's forced on you? Or what if it's a temporary bad in order to get a better? No, it's war is bad. It's like the most like simple like one brain cell thought. It's like yeah, of course war is bad and should be avoided if it can. But when it's forced on you, you have to defend yourself.
UC Berkeley back in the old days protested for negotiations with Hitler. Tell us how that went.
I don't know. How did it go? Did it work?
No. We tried negotiating with Hitler, and when we said, "Oh, next time we'll definitely stop you," he annexed another country, and then we said, "Well, this time we'll definitely stop you." And then he annexed another country, and they said, "No, this time we will actually stop you." And then we declared war, and then we abandoned our allies to get overrun by both the socialists and the Nazis.
Did we try talking to him?
We tried telling Stalin, no, don't be a bad boy, and we tried telling Hitler, don't be a bad boy, and then they invaded Poland between themselves, and then the Soviets invaded.
I don't know if I should ally with... I feel like I have to ally with the Germans, right? But then you're going to fight the Germans, aren't you?
Oh, I mean, I'm probably going to fight the Germans. Whether I fight you or not is up to you, my guy.
That's true. I could... You know what? I think I'm going to do some cheeky shit. Because I know I can... I'm pretty sure I can fight the Russians and just never accept the war to go to war with France and the socialists. I could just fight the Russians and have the Germans fight on my behalf.
Tell the Germans like I'll fight the Russians, but I'm not fighting the West. Like it's not my business. We'll be like, well, you have to, and you'll be like, no, no, I don't. What are you talking about?
Well, I think I'm about to annex Kuban.
That'd be cool. The Kuban Cossack host. Oh boy, here comes the UPR. That's right. We're gonna turn Norway syndicalist. Let's go.
You know what I'm doing in a week? I haven't said this on stream yet. I don't think I have. Actually, have I? I don't know. You know what I'm doing in a week?
What are you doing?
I'm going out east to embed with Azov.
Oh
Yep.
boy. Oh boy.
Medical evac and artillery teams. In training. I forgot training.
Can't wait to see Reddit's view on this one. Dylan
The thing
Burns
is,
confirmed
I don't even want to
neo-Nazi
tweet it
shill.
out. I know if I feel like I don't even want to tweet it out. I know exactly what'll happen if I tweet it out. Oh shit, did I just get kicked out of Middle Europa? Oh fuck, I don't have any allies.
Uh-oh.
Rip. Rip.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Well, we've chosen the hard path, haven't we?
Oh, yeah. That's okay.
We'll survive.
I'm gonna invade Ireland.
What? You're gonna invade Ireland?
Yeah, they will become syndicalists whether they like it or not. That's right, boys.
Damn.
The workers' revolution is being exported. Not imperialism, we promise. Oh, God. No, Pac-Man, do not go on anti-Trotskyist rants on stream. Don't do that. You will get in trouble. It's okay. It's not imperialism. They're just peasants who don't know any better. We will guide them to the true path of socialism. Everything's fine. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll learn them. They'll learn. You're gonna learn a tank. Oil question. Add revolutionary synthetic oil. That's pretty cool. Oil processing. Now we need tonks. We need tonks. I have so much political. Oh.
Man, my economy is busted.
Yeah, your economy is busted as Ukraine. It's pretty. It's chief of army, divisional organization, supply consumption, chief of army, elastic defense.
At least now I can do early mob.
Decisive battle, division attack. We'll go elastic defense because, you know, seems like a good idea. Skill pilots, mission perception, military high command, army fuel efficiency sounds good. There you go. That should be an interesting embed. Actually,
What do you think I should ask them?
I don't know. I've been
What do you think I should ask Azov, chat?
I'd be interested to see about frontline experiences. You're doing medical evacuation. Are you talking the spicy end, or are you talking the casualty clearing station?
When you say the spicy end, you mean taking the injuries from the front to I think it might be a stabilization point. But I believe I'm going to film them actually doing the evacuation work. So I think it might be the spicy end.
Oh, it went
the
well.
Closest I've ever what's the closest I've been to the Russians?
Actually, it probably would have been the last video you released, because it would have been they were right across the river from it. They shot it.
Maybe in Zaporozhye, I was 1.5 kilometers away.
That is it's such an artillery intensive war. That is
Yeah, 60 to 70% of the deaths are from artillery.
That's how modern war is. Artillery is the king of battle.
Well, it depends on the war. I mean, like in most of the wars America's fought in the 21st century, like artillery is useful, but like I don't know if it's the king of battle. I think in this war it's certainly the king of battle.
Artillery is the king of battle. Infantry is the queen of battle.
Okay, gotcha.
Why is the sky blue, chat? Can we get someone in chat to tell me why the sky is blue? In case someone might not know. Looking for a very specific answer, and those who know will know.
Chat wants me to ask as of if they're gay. I actually, when I was organizing the trip, one of the people who was helping to organize it sent me an image of my Twitter profile and circled the rainbow flag, and he just said, "They're not gonna like this." I was like, "Okay, well, I'm not removing it, so either they bring me or they don't." With the flag, I come with the flag. Tough shit, but they didn't care.
Come on, chat, you're letting me down here. All right, let me ask another question. What makes the grass grow?
Asking chat, or are you asking me?
I'm asking chat. What makes the grass grow?
What makes the grass grow?
There we go, Joachim Stigler. There we go. The sky is blue because God loves the infantry. And what makes the grass grow? Blood, blood, blood makes the...
Trying to get me ready for Azov?
I'm saying, going up there, you gotta learn.
I gotta learn all the nationalist slogans.
Blood and soil's the big one, isn't it?
I don't think I've heard them say that. I think
that's what the Ukrainian nationalist flag is.
That is literally, yes, that is literally what it is. It's supposed to be
the blood of Ukrainians.
The red is supposed to be the blood of Ukrainians who died, and the black is supposed to be the black soil.
The black soil of Ukraine.
The red. Yep.
Because Ukraine, that's what makes Ukraine such farmable land. Well, why everyone's been fighting over it for the past 1,000 years. Really good for growing shit.
The stuff here is pretty banger, man. This tastes pretty good.
Yeah, Ukrainian cuisine does look... Not gonna lie.
I haven't lost it. Everybody told me I was gonna lose weight. I haven't lost a pound.
One thing that amazes me from what I've seen is even in a time of war, maybe it's just because I've been seeing fluff pieces, but from people I know personally, what amazes me is even in a time of war and hardship is how generous the Ukrainian people are.
They are very generous. That is true, at least in my case.
It's remarkable. it's just flat out remarkable.
I'm surprised by the amount of people that will just open their home to me and will just open up to me. People who will help me out in any scenario possible. I mean, I am confident that if I was hit anywhere near the front line, that multiple people would almost certainly like risk their life in order to bring me to a place of safety. And that is an amount of trust that I really appreciate that I have. I hope the trust is somewhat mutual.
Will we see any videos on cyber warfare in Ukraine? The video I'm working on right now does talk about Russia's propaganda offensive on social media quite a bit. Mainly because, I mean, let me actually ask you, Dylan. You are...
Wait 1 second. I got some... Oh, wait, let me pause the thing for quick. I got some principles for my government. You want to see my principles that they've just... I just got told are the principles of my government that we're teaching our children? This is apparently the children... This is the principles of Ukrainian nationalism. This is what taught to our children, apparently, in a school book. Number 1, you will win the Ukrainian state, or you will die fighting for it. Number 2, you will not allow anyone to tarnish the glory or honor of your nation. Number 3, remember the great days of liberating... Man, this is fun, isn't it? Oh. This is fun. Oh, yeah. What you were saying? What were you gonna ask me?
I was gonna ask, as a content creator, like, I make history content mainly, but I try to do both. But as a primary Ukraine creator, what is your experience in dealing with Russian propaganda bots and Russian propagandists in your comments and in your content, like when you post it online? How often do you see it? Like,
Um,
honestly.
I used to see it more. I don't see it as much as I used to. At least definitely my main channel. But my main channel is also algorithmically fucked. My last main channel interview got like 3K views, and that's pretty low. At least in my experience. At least with my channel. So I don't know if it's because like my main channel has just been screwed. If you look up my name on YouTube, my channel doesn't come up. It's really weird. I get my second channel comes up, then 5 videos, and then my main channel comes up. But recently, I've been getting a lot less interaction from the ultra nationalists like Russians or like pro Russia people. Or if I do get interactions from them, it's very like simplistic stuff like, "Why do you support bloodshed?" or something very like low level, and I just ignore it at this point. Or if I'll see it in chat while I'm live, then maybe I'll go back and forth a bit, but it never really goes anywhere. I think most of them have given up. I'm pretty hard headed.
This is the thing, because I have seen it very, very often. I see it everywhere. Like, when I make a video about Ukraine, I will get like at least a quarter of my comments sometimes will be pro-Russian content in the comment, right? And
That's actually unbelievably. That's actually really high.
yeah. I like it's gotten. You're right. It's
Well,
gotten
the thing is,
better.
the thing is, if you look at the overall like likes to dislikes though, it doesn't really have a gigantic impact. It's just that they're very loud and annoying.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I've noticed is that I have seen. I actually do a track of it. I will count them occasionally. You go around, I'll see someone comment like, Russia will win or whatever, or Z or whatever, or Russia, what about the Donbass and all that sort of thing. I will go, when I see that comment pop up in my feed, I'll go around other content creators like Perrin, Laserpig, whatever, on their Ukraine content videos, and I will see a copy-paste of the exact same comment on all of the major content creators. I'm like,
I don't like to be
everywhere.
conspiratorial, but the Russian government absolutely invests in bots, absolutely invests in spreading narratives, pay people to do this type of stuff. So, to some extent, it is a function of the Russian government. I don't know how much, because people can go and do that on their own fruition. People can just be assholes. People could genuinely just believe it, and they just got those beliefs from some other commentator. But like the Russian government 100% invested in this, and they invested it heavily, especially as we're ramping up towards an election season.
Oh God, we've got independent Alaska, gang.
Wait, what? What?
Alaska progressive. Let's go.
What?
Yeah.
Yo.
American Civil
Yo,
War.
the Alaska Progressive Party. Yo, that's awesome.
Let's go. Can I send volunteers?
Dude, I'd live in progressive Alaska. That sounds awesome. That sounds fantastic.
Are they not fighting? Did America just break? They're not actually
I think
fighting?
Wait, are they not fighting?
No, there's no war.
No. They want to find a peaceful solution to all their differences. That's very nice.
Let's go.
Yo, who's the Western Federalist? That dude looks badass. Omar Bradley, look at him. Is that what the Bradley's named after?
Yes, Omar Bradley.
Huh. Yeah, that dude looks cool. He's a puppet of Western Command?
Send the Grand Fleet towards Ireland. We're gonna let them know. We're gonna let them know. Oh. Look at this guy. Look at that stogie. Look at that stogie.
Super rare.
Constitutional American Republic. The United States of America. With Douglas MacArthur. With the military junta. Oh, man.
What would you do? What would you do in this war scenario? Who would you support in the American Civil War?
Combined syndicalists of America. Like, there's no question. Like, not even just LARPing in game, like, just in general. I am a syndicalist, so obviously. I am a literal syndicalist. These are my boys.
I don't know. Those social liberals look pretty cool.
I believe, if you guys want to know, like, this is one of the things that people always get a laugh out of, which is that I believe in your Second Amendment, but I think it should be expanded. Second Amendment is not a right, it's a duty. Worker-owned battleships, trade union picket lines with M1 tanks.
Worker-owned battleships.
Enfranchise the workers by any means necessary.
Do you think that would work in battleships and like military command? I mean, the military is like a very hierarchical system.
Oh,
there it is.
There we go.
Damn. Well, good luck, boys. Have fun. Woo! Everybody place your bets. Place your bets in the chat. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna come out on top?
Cynical States of America, send volunteers. How many can I send? I can only send one division?
Yeah, should I send volunteers? Actually, let me think
I
about
can only
this.
send one division? What the hell? Oh, that's some bullshit. Alright. We'll send a division of infantry with artillery. Let's go. And who will we get to command it? None other than Lawrence of Arabia!
Wait, Lawrence of Arabia? You have him?
Yes.
Why do you have him? Is
T.E.
he British?
Lawrence. Yes.
Oh wow, the syndicalists seem to be getting clapped a little bit.
That's why I'm sending my
shit.
boys.
Oh, good luck with that Lawrence dude.
Yeah, we're going to send my one division. Let's go. Send volunteers. We will send air volunteers and Lawrence of Arabia. Let's go.
This William H. Murray guy, he has a really good stogie, but then you read his description and he sounds like a real asshole. So he's just like Mr. Racist. He's Mr. Racist, but he also seems to be in bed with the mob. So he's Mr. Racist Gangster. Actually, if you look at that face, I think Mr. Racist Gangster actually is the perfect description.
Not wanting to get my channel nuked, he is a man who believes that people in America should know their place, if you get what I mean.
Oh damn, that's not cool.
That is his political position. And yeah, we're gonna kill this guy.
Let's see. I think we're gonna look into some anti-air. I think we need that. It makes sense. God, I do want tanks, but I don't know if it's worth the investment.
I'm not gonna invade Ireland. I'm gonna right here. Well, if there's one thing I can say about him, he's at least cooler than Ron DeSantis.
This guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, slightly more moderate.
Yeah, slightly more moderate than Ron DeSantis.
Slightly more moderate. This guy would be somewhere between Mike Pence and Mr. DeSantis.
What a glorious day for the working man. I'm gonna send my division to a dark place of blood and death. I'm gonna send them to Columbus, Ohio.
Move out.
God damn, look at this. Look at this. The town of Gary. Gary, Indiana.
Wait, I can't. Sorry, I'm just confused by my focus tree. God damn it. I wanted to start recovery, but I think I might have clicked the wrong focus. Ah, whatever. But why can't I do this?
Man, the Pacific states are going ham right now. Let them go. Oh. What is chat's opinion on Ron DeSantis? I'd be very interested to hear that.
All in.
Oh, one interesting thing I saw. Did you see that, can't remember her name. One of the members of the GOP's right flank came out very publicly and loudly and stated that she will not endorse any budget submitted by the administration until all funding to Ukraine is stopped.
Yeah, it was Marjorie Taylor Greene who said that. Yeah. Kevin McCarthy. Well, I will say that the government shutdown is no longer a threat for Ukraine. At least not much of a threat to Ukraine. It was a big threat to Ukraine because the government shutdown. There was a fear that since a lot of funding is basically put on hold during that period, that training, since this would a lot of people interpret as not essential national defense, that training for Ukrainian soldiers and other weapon shipments could be halted if it's decided that it's non-essential. But after Zelensky met with Lloyd Austin today, it seems that all of that's not an issue. They're going to be able to continue training Ukrainian soldiers. They're going to be able to continue weapon shipments, definitely since a lot of it has already been earmarked, and in part due to that quote-unquote accounting error that they ran into. But there is still a problem that if employees are if federal employees are getting furloughed, then they might not have anybody to actually do the transporting.
Oh, yo, it's the Patagonian Workers Front. I'm going to send a division over there to help them. Where are we going? Patagonian Workers Front. We're going to see you. We got David Sterling. Yeah. Founder of the SAS. Let's go. I'm going to send you. Send volunteers. We're going to send David Sterling to help the Patagonian Workers Front. Ireland must become a syndicalist republic. Let's see if they accept. Come on, boys. I was born in Dublin, where the wild drum. Ireland accepts our control! Yay! Come out, ye black and tans, come out and fight me, man. There we go, Irish Syndicalist Republic. Look at how many fortresses are in Ireland. Hell yeah, boys. Let's go.
Oh damn! You actually pulled it off.
Excuse me. Based alert. Let's go. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Will you support my territorial claims on Lviv?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
100%.
I just want you to officially say that you support the UPA grabbing Polish territory.
Absolutely, 100%. Why not? We're
Fantastic.
going in.
Okay.
We're going in.
Great. Clip that, chat. Can you clip that?
Clip
quick?
that, chat. Clip that.
Clip that. Send that to me for rant.
Anything for our friends, boys. All right.
Just got back. How's the game going? Well, you know, my government's a little racist, but we're not Russia.
Good news, everyone.
Good news. We're not the Russians. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go say hello to the Patagonian Workers Front. That's right, chat.
Move out.
And that Civil War is popping off. Chad, who do you guys think are winning? Oh my God, McCarthy's getting clapped right now.
Yeah, McCarthy's getting clapped, and that is a good thing. Hey, look.
I don't know. I still control Maryland. Hey, I can see my house from here.
Hey, look. H.P. Lovecraft's in charge of New England. Let's go.
Wait, is he? Oh my God, he is.
Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu.
Yo, chief racist of all the racists is in oh, a dog. What do I call? I guess he's Mr. Squid racist.
CNTFA, it's my boys. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh, Spanish Civil War.
Viva Hispania!
Ready, sir.
I don't know. Maybe I should participate in one of these wars. But I don't know what side to support.
Oh. Viva Hispania, bro. Go. CNTFA. Let's go.
Ukrainian ultranationalism with anarchist characteristics.
Oh, kind of based. Not gonna lie.
Okay, you know what? Maybe actually, let's see. Maybe I can send. You know what? I should send over some new units to get them trained. You know what? I'll send over a unit. We're gonna do Ukrainian ultranationalism with anarchist characteristic, boys.
Nesta Markno rides again, but he's a bit different.
Yeah, it's a bit different. Just a little bit different. Let's see. Here we go with.
I don't even want. Can I get artillery? What is this? 1937. I'm actually doing really well on research. You know what we need? What do we need? Let's get some war companies going.
Let's go for this guy's infantry specialist, which is good infantry leader.
Springfield, Ohio.
Artillery attack is good, but infantry leader is so much better.
Move out.
Cut off that division there. Get some air superiority over the steel belt. Time to import some rubber. Let's get some from the Dutch East Indies. Why not?
Tisk syndicalists supporting colonialism. Oof.
You know what? Let's up the ump, shall we? More military factories, and we'll go.
That's.
Ready.
And your syndicalists, they're getting pushed a little bit, but they're not, I guess, getting wrecked too hard, but they're getting wrecked a little.
Let them have it.
Ohio's not looking good. Ohio's dangerous. Only 3 tiles they could cut in 2.
We're making gains, as you can see. We're pushing into Virginia.
Are you?
Yeah, you can see we've taken Charleston.
Actually, yeah, you just took West Virginia. Well, you took most of West Virginia. You haven't taken Huntington yet.
Well, if we can take Washington, we'll be what?
Actually, makes sense. You took West Virginia. They have a really deep labor history.
Oh, it's Huey Long.
Oh, wait, what happened with Huey Long?
He's in charge of the American Union State. What the hell?
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah, there he is.
Huey Long is kind of... Oh, man. Oh, man.
I used to think he was very based, and then I decided populism was fucking stupid.
And then out of nowhere, it's Eugene Debs with the steel chair!
Yeah, let's see. Where
God,
should we... Where are you
man.
pushing with... Where should I push in Spain, do you think?
You're with the CNTFA?
Actually... Yeah, I am.
Help me crush the Carlists over here.
Yeah, I see an opportunity.
Move out.
Over there.
Move out.
Let's cut these Carlists off and march to the French border. We'll see how it goes. Ukrainians and Brits fighting side by side.
This is such an ideological clusterfuck.
You ever read a book on the Spanish Civil War?
Move out.
Bro.
Help me cut them off. Yes! Yes! Breakthrough! Breakthrough!
Yes, we're doing it.
Breakthrough! Breakthrough! Guard that province behind.
Yo!
Guard that province behind me.
We're doing it.
Yep. All right.
We're doing it.
All right. Close in on them.
Man, they got fucked.
Yep. Wait. Hang on. Oh, the Mexicans got involved. Holy shit.
Ready.
Second.
Move out.
I'm gonna hold this breach open. Oh, yo!
Back.
Yo, Syndicalists making gains. We're making moves. We're making
Yo.
moves. Oh,
Ready, sir.
We're getting a little wonky here.
I've got big plans right now that I can't tell you about because the haters will sabotage me.
Move out.
I got big plans. All right, hold on. Why is Lovecraft leaving a country when he was too scared to leave his own area? Dude. Yeah. Like, straight up. Yeah. Alright. We are just gonna...
Man, our agricultural reform's doing great.
Yeah, man. Things are going
Subsidizing farmers, diversifying crop production, reducing the amount of arable land.
well.
Wait, that last one doesn't sound good.
Army speed. That's what we'll research. And we'll go... Militarized industry, expand...
Dude, what is going on with the fucking anarchist AI in these? Oh, now they fixed it. They were just like glitching in and out, like attacking and stopping attacks.
And we crush these car lists. If we can get Syndicalist Spain and Syndicalist America, oh my god. A better world. A better world. Man, the Pacific States of America are just chilling.
They do like to do the chilling, man. Wait, what's Y up to?
They're part of the Pacific States, I believe. Yeah, they are.
Oh, yeah, a lot of scenarios. They
Oh,
break
wait.
off. Yo, wait, did they take part of Mexico?
Oh, guys, it's even better. Independent Alaska has become the popular communal frontier
Wait, what?
Communist
What the
Alaska.
fuck? Yo!
All right,
Yo,
let's
man, there's a lot of
go.
wait.
There is,
But they've given military access to Japan for some reason.
Dude, seriously, we got some based shit happening right now.
Why are they giving military access to Japan?
This is
What are the Japanese
based.
planning?
This is peak based right now. The things are just getting
Yo, I'm sorry, but the king of Canada, he looks cool in that top hat. Okay, he's making monarchy look.
Oh, it's Edward the Eighth.
Oh wait, look at the smoke on his cigar. Do you see that?
Oh, it actually is smoking. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's moving. That's weird. I haven't seen that before.
How's your
Wait, can you have gifts? Can you have gifts as nation profile leaders?
I
didn't
think
know
so.
that.
Apparently, you can.
Cool.
Well, I guess isolationism doesn't work, chat. Who'd have thought?
Damn. Only if someone could have warned us.
If only someone could have warned us about isolationism. That's the actual thing. That is the actual thing that most pisses me off about American isolationism. Is that it's self-defeating. Like, the biggest issue I have with claims about the current conflict in Ukraine from the far right in America, and this is my biggest complaint, and yes, I will fully admit this is part of my lefty bias, but it's the argument I hear from them when they're like, oh, we should be spending that money here in America. I'm like, you weren't going to, were you?
True! Very true.
Were you?
They weren't going
Like,
to.
when we elected an isolationist government last time under Donald J. Trump, he said he was going to spend all that money on America. Where did all that money go? Tax cuts for the
Mostly
rich.
tax cuts. Yeah.
Tax cuts for the rich.
And then we got the largest we've got like record-breaking deficit.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the guy who's got to balance the budget.
He increased federal spending.
But the thing is, he increased federal spending while also cutting taxes. It was not a great idea.
Dude, this is the biggest thing. But you were saying it near the tail end of your stream, and I have an entire page, paragraphs upon paragraphs of this in the video I'm writing right now. Even if it wasn't the right thing to do, which morally it is, supporting Ukraine makes so much sense. It makes so much political and economic sense. Like, why would... You want to know what is absolutely really like tragic about this? When this you mentioned it in the report at the end there that you were showing off at the end of your stream. After this war is over, hopefully with Ukrainian victory within the next 2 years. When they come to rebuild the country, a third of Ukraine's, like, the very best and brightest of Ukraine, quite frankly, are going to be disabled or dead. Just how it is. How war is. It's a fact. They're going to need to rebuild the country from scratch. Oh boy.
Wait, what?
Oh, it's the Balkans.
Oh, with the Balkans.
They're going to need to rebuild the country from scratch. They're going to need to do all of this stuff. Who do you think is going to get all the contracts for it? Who do you think they're going? Where do you think they're going to get the skilled labor pool to rebuild the country from? Whose companies do you think they're going to sign contracts with to carry these rebuilding operations out? Who do you think is going to get first dibs on Ukraine's large natural resources? Who do you think is going to... Like, you mean to tell me that all those retired EOD operators from the GWAT, right? All those retired EOD operators, they're going to be private military companies like Triple Canopy, Blackwater, all these people. They're going to come in and be like, there's going to be a huge market for private contractors to carry out demining in Ukraine. And we've got a whole crop of anti-IED people from the global war on terror. The amount of money the West stands to make from supporting Ukraine in the long run is so freaking huge. I don't even know where to start. We get to look like heroes internationally on the world stage. We get to disarm our biggest geopolitical rival in Europe. We get to force our political and economic will on our biggest political rival in Europe. And we get to make a stack load of money, all while looking like the good guy. I don't get how you can be an isolationist.
You know, something was interesting about Hasan's logic, and it kind of really confused me, because he seemed to be very angry at the fact that America had its own interests, and that was part of the reason why I was supporting Ukraine. But that's true of every war ever that America and any other country has ever participated in. There's not really many wars in history where people decided to get involved because they didn't have interests at play. I can't think of that.
You don't go into wars for shits and gigs, my guy. Like you just don't.
True.
But like, I just don't understand. It boggles the mind. Like, it really does boggle the mind. About just what people sort of think about Ukraine and how it's going. They're like, oh, we could be spending that money here. We could be spending that money here. We could be doing all this. Like, yeah. But do you have any idea how many jobs that's going to create statesides for us? I mean, people look at the Marshall Plan. People look at the Marshall Plan. That created a huge economic boom, not only in Europe, but in the United States as well. You know, like...
I mean, American stability, American economic stability is built upon a foundation of the Euro-Atlantic Alliance. And it's built upon the foundation of stability in Europe. I mean, you have the American reserve currency, the world reserve currency is the American dollar, that's 59% of the world reserve currency. Second is the euro, that's 20% of the world's reserve currency. Stability in Europe is not only important for America, it's important for the world. And so I think that opening up the can of, yeah, you can just do revanchist, like just expansionist, imperialist aims in Europe, starting the largest war in Europe with World War II, with no repercussions. In fact, you will be rewarded. That does nothing but encourage that behavior down the line. We shouldn't do things to kick the can down the road and increase instability in the long term. Even just in that alone, I think we have an interest in being in Ukraine.
Yeah, and it's just... The whole argument that, we should be doing this, that for altruistic reasons. Like, no one is naive enough to think we're being altruistic. Surely not. Like,
I think it's a combination. I think there are certainly people who, definitely lobbyists that I've met and I have dinner with, who are in this for humanitarian or ideological reasons that I think are good. But there's, of course, a million factors at play, which is true of any war. There's multifaceted reasons that we get involved in any war, and any nation gets involved in any war. There are people who are interested in probably supporting Ukraine because they just want to fuck the Russians, and the more dead dead Russian special forces and the more destroyed Russian equipment, the less of a threat Russia will pose for us in the long term. There's people who are interested in the burgeoning Ukrainian tech sector being within, the Western sphere. There's people who are interested in the Ukrainian resources. There are people interested in having another strong ally in Europe, one that's battle-hardened. There's people who are interested in the ideology, and they want to support democracy. They want to support Ukrainian freedom. There's so many different aspects at play. What I really don't like about Hasan's analysis is he just is like, America supports Ukraine to fuck the Russians, and that's it. That's the end. That's the be-all. He's created his short, simple narrative that's punchy and marketable, but it's not a complete picture. And he doesn't know the complete picture, so I didn't expect him to go.
But the worst part of it is, and forgive me, this is a bit of a reactionary take from me, but I'll say it. What's wrong with that? Like, honest to God, when they're a fascist oligarchy run by an ex-KGB mafia boss, what's wrong with wanting to fuck the Russians? I think that's a very good policy to have. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, if you want to talk about, like, ever since Georgia in 2008, right? The biggest threat to peace and stability in Europe has been the Russian Federation. There's no question. And the West's biggest geopolitical rival for the entirety of the 20th century and the 21st century has been the Russian Federation. So if screwing over Russia is what our objective is, it seems like a perfectly reasonable objective. And the idea that American conservatives would be against fucking over Russia is just bizarre to me. Like, it's just bizarre.
I think, honestly, and I'm not a very conspiratorial person, but I do think amongst certain factions of the American far right, which might have financial incentives also to support Ukraine, even if it's from the basic of, like, Raytheon wants to give you money, Raytheon can make money from selling weapons. I think there's a certain faction of them that I don't know which Congress people it is. I think there's probably at least one or two who legitimately find some ideological alignment with Moscow. Whether it's the pushing back on LGBT rights, whether it's just general illiberalism, whether it's the integration of church and state, or it's because Russia has worked for years to integrate itself among far right and radical political movements because they want to increase the power of those who want America to basically retract from the world. This is a known Russian intelligence goal. So I do question sometimes the motivations of certainly people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. People like the extremes. I do question. I do have legitimate questions about loyalties.
Yeah, I think that their position is very clearly ideological alignment with Putin. I think anti-democracy.
I don't know if I can say that clearly because I haven't seen anything that can make me tie that so much. I think Tucker Carlson, it's the clearest in the world. I mean, he's quite literally repeating Russian propaganda day in, day out. I think like that's somebody who clearly agrees with the Putin line. I mean, you could see he agrees with that style of authoritarianism from how he talks about Viktor Orban and his documentary made of him, which was just sucking the hairs off of his cock for an hour.
Dude, how can anyone say good things about Viktor Orban and then claim to be a supporter of democracy? He is antithetical to democracy. Like, he is completely antithetical to everything about Viktor Orban is against the very nature of democracy. I don't understand how... You see...
Come on, move out.
I am going to sound like the worst fucking, like...
Move out.
You see, as an Australian, it's very weird, because I have a love of American history, and because of the unique circumstances in which I grew up, the online environment which I grew up in, because this is going to sound weird, alright? But a very big part of my social development growing up was I was an MMO player. Back in the day. I was an MMO player growing up. The MMO I played was a massively multiplayer online combat flight simulator before War Thunder existed, called Aces High. And Aces High's community was predominantly middle-aged white men from the United States many of whom were veterans. And the friends I made, and one or two of the friends I made as part of that MMO community became practically surrogate family. I am surrogate family to a family from Texas because of that game, right? And I grew up in that community. Like, I was logging World of Warcraft style hours. Now, because of this, I grew up surrounded by Republicans. In my spare time, I was hanging out with Republicans, conservative Americans. And the one thing that genuinely baffles me about all of this is that, from what I know about them, they were passionate defenders of democracy. They believed it. They genuinely believed in, they were very pro-gun. They didn't like the Democrats stepping on their shit. They were very sort of, I think isolationist might be a point, but they weren't the current crop of the GOP we're seeing now. Definitely not. And one thing that always amazed me is, I'm going to sound like the worst person, like the worst hypocrite here, but because of that environment, I learned a lot about American history. I learned a lot about American ideals and American culture. And for me, when I see the Republican Party now, I am reminded by the infamous phrase, "a republic if you can keep it." Because the GOP now seems hell-bent on destroying it. I don't know about how you feel, because you're an American liberal patriot, so I want to hear your take on that. But it feels like the GOP is now taking active steps to destroy American democracy. Like, genuinely.
I think that there are forces within the GOP that want to see our system of checks and balances stay, and I think even if there are people I still disagree with on many, many, many other issues, and I think there is another faction of the Republican Party which is dominating right now, which just sees our institutions, or like the tools of our institution, as like a means to an end, and they are willing to go around them if necessary, and even break them if necessary in order to achieve that end. And I think Trump is the leading figure in that movement. I believe Trump is not principally anti-democratic, but when he doesn't get his way, he no longer likes democracy. And so if you don't like democracy when you lose, you don't like democracy. It's not democracy if it only is democracy when you win.
You see, the thing is, I am a very conflicted person in terms of leftists, you mean, because I'm not a raving tanky, and I'm also not an anarchist, and I'm also not completely blind. I've mellowed out as I've gotten older and sort of seen what's up. For all its faults, was one of the most important and transformative documents in history. It was the most progressive governing document ever written at the time. And Thomas Jefferson included, quite intentionally in that, is that when a government no longer represents the interests of its people, it is the right of the people to abolish it. Right? However, I don't see that spirit in what the GOP is doing. What I see is, and people have called me alarmist, but I'm going to say it, what I see is fascism. And I mean that in the very literal sense of the word. I mean the strong-arming of liberal institutions and democratic institutions for the weaponization of its destruction. It's what I'm seeing them do. And if you're looking...
There's so much Could you give me a moment?
Yeah.
There's so much happening on my screen right now. Okay, give me a second.
And I just... as an outsider looking in, it is...
I genuinely think that the 2020 election kind of showed who has a loyalty to democracy and who doesn't have a loyalty to democracy, and how people reacted to it showed it. Like Mike Pence, as much as I don't like him, he is 100% like a theocrat. He wants the government and specifically the church in everyone's life. At the end of the day, when rubber hit the road, he did his job. It's the lowest bare minimum for any politician that he went through the transfer of power, but he did his job. But there's a lot of other people, like Carrie Lake, like Donald Trump, and any other Donald Trump loyalists, like J.D. Vance, that I would not trust on the issue of democracy, because they're actively trying to undermine the system when they lose. And if they undermine the system when they lose, that's not democracy. And it's not just Donald Trump. He's encouraging a culture of just rejecting the democratic process. He's done it. Laura Loomer's done it. Carrie Lake's done it. That guy, Doug Mastriano in Pennsylvania is doing it. That was something that would have used to have been something that laughed you out of the room. Oh, you can't take the L. You're such a loser. Oh, you're embarrassing to your party. Now it's just something that like people roll their eyes at because they're so used to it.
Oh. And that's people like Zelensky has come out publicly and said he is not concerned about a Republican victory in the election affecting support for Ukraine. I personally am terrified. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I am. I don't know if I'm terrified, but I am certainly scared. I certainly am worried about it.
Trump has been called upon to release his so-called peace plan. He'll say, I can end the war in 24 hours. And of course it's typical Trumpian bluster and bullshit. But he has not released his peace plan publicly. And when he does, you know what exactly it's going to be. Concession to Putin on all accounts. Surrender the eastern half of the country is what he's going to say.
What do you think about, and this is I don't think this will most likely happen, but it is an interesting scenario. Trump has said that if he does his peace deal and the Russians don't like it, he'll send Ukraine more aid than ever. And the thing is with Trump, he doesn't really have many like consistent foreign policy beliefs. Like Syria was a great example of it, him constantly flip-flopping on it. I do think there's like he rolls like a D20 dice. If he hits a nat 20, I think there's a scenario where he might actually increase aid to Ukraine. It'd be really funny. Most likely he would decrease aid to Ukraine, but I think there is a chance that he wouldn't. But I think so that I'm not completely terrified of the scenario, but I'm still concerned. I also think Congress could, if they really wanted to, they could try to go around him. But having that power of the executive branch to grab funds and throw it at Ukraine, that is super useful. And that's why I really think Biden needs to win. Because I know Biden supports Ukraine. Trump, it's like a Hail Mary if he supported Ukraine. Most likely he won't.
This is the funny thing. This is the funny thing that gets me about this is like, if you ask me who I think would have provided the most military aid to Ukraine in this situation, it's very ironic for me to say that I think of all the outcomes it would have probably have been Bernie. Which is wild to think about when he's well renowned as a cut the military budget and reinvest into Medicare for all and education. But I do honestly think he probably would have been the biggest warhawk regarding this issue. But I think looking at... Do you think Biden's going to do another term? I don't think so.
Move out.
Like, I think if he does...
So.
You think he'll do another 4 years? They're going to need to put him in a wheelchair.
I don't know. I mean, like, physically, he's fine. I don't know if you see, but he goes for, like, bike rides and jogs and like, physically, he's fine. I don't think he's going to be in a wheelchair. By the way, we're about to take the capital of the Carlists.
Oh, are we?
But...
Yeah, I need to redirect.
Yeah. I think, like, most of the stuff I've seen of Biden, it seems to mostly be, like, verbal stumbling. So I have not seen enough to make me think that this man is, like, a second from dementia. And I think a lot of it, so far for me, is, like, fear-mongering. Would I prefer someone younger? Would I prefer somebody that I don't think their age could end up compromising their health down the line into the presidency? Absolutely. Sadly, both of our candidates are 70 plus.
Do you think Biden has a chance of actually winning if he did... not Biden. Do you think Trump has a chance of actually winning if he runs? Do you think he could win, theoretically?
Oh, absolutely. He could win. I mean, the guy has shown before that he has exceedingly exceptional flexibility. He's able to really bet against the odds. So I do think he can win. but I think the odds are against him. Definitely with all of the charges against him, many of them very serious, including like shit that's like unbelievably ironic, like illegal. I mean, he's being charged with 91 counts, including many felonies.
As I keep saying, as much as I like, you know, jump in on this conversation in that regard, I'll be honest with you. I have said publicly, and I'll say this on stream, I have my Ushanka nearby. I will eat that live on stream. I will eat my Ushanka live on stream. I'll eat a pound. I will eat a whole freaking 2-3 pounds of wool live on stream if he sees even a minute of jail time.
I don't think he'll see jail time.
Oh hell no.
And maybe it's just something in my soul telling me that
He'll get away with it.
it's like the Nixon. It's like the Nixon. I think it might end up like the Nixon situation.
You think
Or
Biden
it might just be like
him?
Probably not. But I honestly, actually, now I'm thinking about it.
Could you imagine
Could you?
Biden
Do you know how
pardoned
funny
him?
that would be?
Oh
Do you know?
my
How, honestly, I think that would almost be more funny than if he actually just went to jail. Biden's like, you know what, Jack? I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna do a homie a favor. That'd be funny. Like, I could let you just rot in prison, but if you want to live out the rest of your days lonely on a golf course, I can help you with that too. Like, it'd be funny. But I want him, if found guilty on the crimes, to see the same amount of punishment that anybody else would. But whether that's going to happen or not, I think the odds are against it.
Oh, hell no. If a normal citizen had committed the crimes that Trump is accused of, they'd be gone for life. They'd be put away.
I hate the shit of like, wow, arresting your political opponent. Now, there's only, number one,
Yes, sir.
you look at the crimes that he did. He committed the crimes. It's not an issue of like, oh my God, Biden's trumping up charges. There is so much evidence he committed crimes. He committed a large swaths of crimes. So the question isn't like, is Biden making up trumped up charges? The question has now become, should a presidency, should a government arrest people if they're part of the opposition party, even if they've done a swath of crimes? That's the new standard that is now being asked. And the answer is, of course, yes!
He committed a crime.
Of course! He committed a crime! But that standard should also apply to people within the party as well. But the idea that out of just trying to appear bipartisan, we're going to allow criminals to actively attack our democracy. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Like,
The whole point of our system in the United States, the whole like selling point of it when it comes to our criminal justice system is that everybody should be treated equally before the eyes of the law. And now the Republican position is, unless you're a powerful politician.
which goes against the entire foundation of the United States Constitution. I don't know. Like as I said, I will eat my hat on stream live if he even gets like.
You know, I'll hold you to that now. You've said it multiple times. I have to hold you to it now.
In all reality, if it does happen, I'll have to do like a live mukbang where I eat something equally terrible, the same size. But keep in mind that this thing is for my head, so like I'd be eating like the equivalent of 5 plates worth of food live on stream, and it has to be something shit. So like, let's call it like a literal like 2-kilogram bowl of really spicy chili. I will sit here and do something horrible on stream live if he even sees a. You can
do just like I think the ghost pepper would probably be fair enough compensation.
You know what I mean? But point is, I will do something outrageous live on stream if he even sees a day of jail time. Because you know what? I know for a fact I won't have to. I just won't. Because he's not going to go. Like, if politicians were held to account...
You know he's scared about it, though. There's a recent Rolling Stones article where he was asking his staff if he'd have to wear a jumpsuit if he went to prison.
The mugshot was great, though, right? That mugshot was amazing.
Was fantastic.
That mugshot was amazing.
Fantastic. It was beautiful. Great moment in this country. See, it's not with so many people like, how embarrassing. I don't know why it's so embarrassing. It's embarrassing that we would elect somebody like him, but I don't think it's embarrassing that we're holding our politicians to account. By the way, our supply in Spain is not great in Burgos.
No, it is not.
All in.
I'm gonna.
I
pull
feel like
my
I'm
dude
gonna
up.
pull my troops back. Yeah, I'm gonna pull my troops back too.
Well, these wars are gonna go on forever.
Shouting the battle cry of freedom. Dude, the Kaiserreich soundtrack is great.
The Union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah! Down with the
Down with
traitors.
the traitors and up with the stars.
We fill our freemen's rank with 100 freedmen more. Down
Shout,
with-
shout the battle cry. Freedom.
Under fire.
Oh boy.
Taking cover.
Okay, how many artillery pieces are we
You know what?
producing?
We're gonna need to expand these guys. I'm gonna go.
Time to get stanky with these artillery guns. Okay, let's see. How many artillery guns do we have? Yeah, that's fine. Hmm.
Go 30 width? Go 30 width. Why not? Big boy divisions!
Big boy, big boy.
Yeah, if he does walk, he's gonna get a boost on his campaign. Right.
Yo, but Trump also Biden's not gonna get impeached. I mean, but in the impeachment effort against Biden is gonna fail. It's gonna fail like disastrously. It's not gonna get anywhere close to where it got with Trump.
Oh hell.
There's literally because there's like so far they've picked up literally nothing.
What are you gonna put him on? Like what are you gonna nab him on? Like really? Like
But they gotta find something first, and that's the thing. Like I can't like until they find something. It's like it's absolutely nothing. Like they literally haven't found a single thing. So I don't know even what I'm supposed to like. It's all like, well, he could have done, or well, maybe. Like they own some shell companies, so maybe they use it for. It's like okay, but that's speculation. Like everything is just like, it's all circumstantial evidence. So there's not like, I don't know what I'm even supposed to respond to.
there we go, boys. Check it out. Patagonian Workers Front. Yes, we won the war in Argentina. Let's go. The revolution spreads, and we're gonna get Spain next.
Ready.
Oh, I think they're gonna take Burgos back. Ooh, that would be bad. That would be bad.
Let's take out Bilbao then, because we got flanked.
Oh boy, I might have to go to. I don't want to go back to defend it, but I think I have to. Nah,
The defense of Ukraine is completely illegitimate. Why? I'll tell you why.
Ready, sir.
Because we still haven't found out what's on Hunter Biden's laptop. That's right.
dude, I saw Tommy Tuberville release a picture of Zelensky with Chuck Schumer today, who's the Senate Majority Leader for the Democrats, like veteran Democrat politician, and he tweeted out like, I can't believe this Joe Biden feller. And Tommy Tuberville is like a former football coach. He knows like I don't know why he's even involved in politics. He's saying, I don't know why this Joe Biden feller is involved with the Ukraine when he should be involved with the border. The fact that these Democrats are meeting with this fool when we got a crisis on the border, absolutely ridiculous. Problem is, he cropped the original picture. If you expanded it, there was the Senate Minority Leader, that is the leader for the Republicans in the Senate, to his left. But he cropped him out to make it look like he wasn't there.
Fucking insanity.
It is very silly. But I also don't understand that. Like, so is the idea that until we stop all illegal immigration, the whole world doesn't exist? Like, I don't understand the logic. No other country functions this way.
You're the land of the free and the home of the brave, man.
Wait, no. There's one, North Korea. They have a very strong border.
You're the land of the free and the home of the brave, man. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Gotta do what you got to do. Okay, I think I should probably get radio. I think radar stations would be very useful. Hey, I defended Burgos. I successfully defended it. Fantastic.
Should we turn our conversation to more fun people regarding the war in Ukraine? Like, I don't know, a certain billionaire?
Oh, Elon? What do you want to know about Elon? I did like a video about Starlink and Starlink deliveries early on, and ever since, and I tried to be as charitable as possible. I wish I was 10 times less charitable now, looking back. Because I actually reported on the Putin phone call like a year before it was basically confirmed by Pentagon officials.
Yep. Yep.
And that's the thing, he like denied it. He just straight up said it didn't happen, and now we have like 20 different sources saying he 100% had phone calls with Putin, and Putin convinced him. That's exactly what happened.
Come on, move
Yep.
Like the American officials basically saying he got rolled by Putin. Like he came in here like, well, actually, I heard some really good arguments about Crimea. That was straight up what happened.
Well, I know for a fact. I looked it up. I went looking and digging around. So, if you need any more evidence, regarding Elon Musk, I looked at companies that are currently engaged in sanctions against Russia. Everyone's engaged in sanctions. Microsoft, Apple, like all the fast food, all the pizzas, all that shit. Tech companies, car companies, finance companies, everything like that. Everyone is sanctioning Russia. None of Elon's companies are currently engaged in sanctions against Russia. None. All of them are still trading with Russia and operating in Russia. The ones that have operations in Russia, all of Elon's companies are still there. And as for Twitter, Twitter sanctioned Russia at the start of the invasion. Those sanctions were lifted when Elon took over the company.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, Twitter demoted pro-Russian content on Twitter, but now if you go on Twitter now, there's tons of pro-Russia content, and you wonder why. It's because when Elon took over the company, he lifted it. Oh,
did you see his peace plan?
yeah.
It was brilliant, wasn't it? He's a true genius of geopolitics.
Yeah. He's basically telling the Ukrainians to accept all Russian demands. Everything east of the Dnieper belongs to Russia now. Thank you, good luck, have fun.
It was so strange because it seemed like his premise was based upon just the most faulty of bullshit evidence. But when I read it, I knew immediately when I read his peace plan that somebody in Russia was whispering in his ear. Because it was a bunch of narratives that I had already heard before, straight out of the mouth of RT. I think the moment I knew it was when he said, actually, Eastern Ukrainians support the Russians. My proof, election results from 2012. That showed that they voted for Yanukovych. And that was his proof that Eastern Ukrainians actually support being part of Russia. I don't know how that is, like, the 2012 election was not, do you want to be part of Russia? It was, do you want to vote for this guy or that guy? And neither of the candidates were, we want to become part of Russia. That was on the campaign. In fact, Yanukovych said on the campaign trail he wanted to integrate further with the European Union.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you use those election results to prove shit. And you can't use it to prove shit.
Dude, Elon's entire thing, you know for a fact that if it wasn't for the law regarding, like, natural American ancestry or whatever, he would be going for a presidential. You know that. Like, because Trump did it, he's gonna try. I would not be surprised if he did the thing that,
he has the Silicon Valley syndrome, which is, I can solve everything like a tech if I just treat it like a tech startup.
Yeah.
It's the same thing Vivek Goswami has.
Yeah. Or fucking Andrew Yang, for that matter. Mind you,
I don't know. Does he have a history in Silicon Valley? I didn't know Andrew Yang had a history in Silicon Valley.
Andrew Yang was a bit of a tech bro, as far as I'm aware. He acts like one, even if he isn't one. He acts like one. Then again, I do have a soft spot for Andrew, for a little, in a couple of ways. I thought Yang Gang was pretty funny. I will give him that.
I'm sick of businessmen running for office. I'm sick of people who's like, I operated a business, so I know how to run a country. A business is not a country. The profit motive is not the same. The interests are not the same. like if you ran a country like a business, you would run it by stiffing the American people as much as possible to try to get the best profits.
I'm not gonna lie. I am a socialist technocrat. So for me, I look at the world and go, huh, maybe the guy in charge of the Department of Agriculture should have run a farm at some stage. I don't know. Maybe. Seems like a good idea to me. Maybe the Minister for the Environment should have been, I don't know, a climate scientist. Perhaps. Maybe. This might be a good idea.
That sounds stupid. I think it should be people who are directly involved in the destruction of the climate.
Yeah, like literally the minister in charge of the environment in Australia is used to be a member
I
of
believe
the Cold War.
I believe the community meth dealer should be the chief of police personally.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Worked out before.
Ready.
That is the Republican strategy for like government agencies, though, that they like the EPA and the NLRB. It's choose somebody who serves one purpose, and that is to undermine the effectiveness of the organization. That's what people like Rand Paul and others have been pushing for years.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, chat. You know, you look at like who's the Minister of Environment in our countries, and you're like, oh, what? He used to have a speakership on the ExxonMobil board? Well, imagine that. And he's the Minister of the Environment? Yeah, of course he is. It's just an appointed position. I'm an elected official. Oh, so the guy on the oil board just happened to get assigned Minister of the Environment, and then new drilling happens by accident.
Move out.
Surely.
Yeah, it's a quickie dink. Have you ever heard of those?
It's the little coinky dink, if ever you heard one. Dude, as I said,
Move out.
it's like the thing with the train accident, and the strikes that happened earlier this year. It's just like, huh, the train drivers are striking for better conditions and pay, and they are raising concerns over safety and workplace effectiveness. And then there's that massive oil fucking spill in I think it was Ohio, where like chemicals that could literally cause cancer just spewed everywhere and started a massive fire and everything like this. And like, oh, the rail unions, the guys who were on strike earlier, were raising concerns about the infrastructure that they're running on. Maybe we should do something about it. They've been saying it for years. It was in reports submitted to Congress for the past decade. Did any of you do anything about it? No. And suddenly the train drivers are the bad guys because they're on strike. Seriously, like, you can't make this shit up, man.
Dude, I saw that. I don't know if you saw, but Tim Scott, he's running for president, Republican ticket. He responded to the UAW strike by just saying strikers should be fired, and now he has a lawsuit for like anti-union activity.
Yep.
Because of that statement, and it's UAW specifically suing him too. It's very funny.
As it should be. Do we have a cruiser? Prove light ship hull. Escorts. I took Madrid! Yes!
Wait, did you actually?
Yep. Breakthrough. Took Madrid. Everything's cool.
Oh, that's a big victory. Congratulations.
I'm gonna let this war play out. Bathroom again.
Hey Chad, how's it going? How's everybody doing? I can't really see Anarchy's chat, but I assume it's because, you know, anarchy, a bunch of cat boys and cat girls. I don't really know anything about his community. Wait, sorry, cat girls and cat historians, okay? Sorry. I don't know what your community's like. Are you all furries? I don't know. I'm to make some anti-air guns. How's the American Civil War doing? Oh boy. Well, Mr. Racist. Oh shit! Oh no, the syndicalists are about to get railed. They're at the gates of Chicago. And MacArthur did a turnaround.
Things are not great.
Did you see Lavrov's entourage has cholera from India?
Oh God.
I did not see that. I did not see that, but that's very funny. Hope it kills him.
Let's hope so.
Is that TOS, actually? I don't know. I don't care. I do hope he dies, so that's a genuine belief. And if that gets me banned, then I'll just stream on YouTube. I mean, the dude went on the world stage and said, yeah, Ukraine has weapons of mass destruction. We have to invade. I mean, how do you play that exact same card in this decade again? I mean, that was 2 decades ago, less than 2 decades ago, and they're playing the same card. Do you think that was like a cheeky thing when they came up with that like FSB nonsense in like some meeting? Do you think they were like, oh, dude, weapons of mass destruction? It's gonna be so funny. I imagine they had some feeling around that.
Oh, absolutely. Portion bar. Welded armor. Radio. Sloped armor. Armor skirts.
Oh, you're designing armor.
Yes, we are.
I think I'm gonna just be infantry nation. It's just gonna be trenches everywhere. Instead of the Surovikin line, it's gonna be like 20 Bandera lines. Strong and disciplined army. Ukrainianization efforts. Uh-oh. What's this? God, the music here is good. The music in this game. What song is this? This is a good one. The King Empire. As a kid, I always called it the Queen, but it's pronounced the Qing, isn't it?
It's the Qing Empire, yes.
Yeah, but they put a Q in it because they hate us English speakers and hate the white man in the West.
I mean, if you were the Chinese, I wouldn't blame you for hating the white man.
That is true. That is true.
Hey,
Those honkies.
Hey kids, you want to buy some opium? Too bad, you can't say no.
Hey man, that was some of the best opium in the world. You'd be grateful, man. That was good opium. You know, there's starving kids in Africa that would love opium, and you're just like snuffing it like that, like very bad.
Yeah, you know how it goes, man. Is what it is. How are things going in America? Oh.
Yeah, no, they're at the gates of Chicago. I said this while you were away. They cut them into a Gary, and they're at the gates of Chicago. This is a pretty bad situation. MacArthur's doing well though.
Oh hell yeah! The syndicalist anarchist sees power in Argentina. Is this my favorite Hoi 4 mod? Kaiser Redux is. Because you can do some goofy shit.
It doesn't take itself too seriously, but also put a lot of work into it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Sometimes when people like get really deep into these mods, they start taking themselves a little too seriously. I always wanted this feels like the most sandboxy of all the mods, and I like that.
Let's see what the Germans are doing. Does it tell us what their completed focuses are? Ooh.
Should I research any tanks? Actually, can I? What's that thing? License a tank? Can I do that?
Yeah, you can license mine.
That would actually. What type of tank do you have?
Medium tank.
Got you. Oh, I've named my what did I name my plane again? Oh yeah, the flying Russophobes.
Hmm.
I might license your tank. In a bit though. I gotta work on my other stuff first.
The Bandera wagon.
Pandera wagon.
The Bandera wagon. You've heard of the bandwagon? How about the Bandera wagon?
Is there any what let me ask you though, for real. What would you think would be a good question for a Western audience to ask Azov?
Um, I think it would be difficult to ask them like questions that, because if you're talking about you'd be asking them questions that you would ask any other Ukrainian service person, I would assume. Like situation at the front, fighting. I am trying to get an interview. I'm trying to get an interview with Ukrainian Air Force personnel, but that's proving difficult, obviously, for obvious reasons. But one of the questions I plan to ask them, if I can manage it, is what do they need to get the job done? Like, what specifically do they need? And that's a big question I feel that we should be asking the Ukrainians, because, again, I want to keep hammering this home again and again to anyone who will listen and to anyone who will ask. The question we should, like, in all of these situations, the biggest issue I have is no one asks the frickin' Ukrainians.
True.
And so we should be asking them, instead of telling them what they should get, instead of saying, oh, well, we won't attack them. So we should ask them, what do you need? What can we give you? How can we make this happen?
I mean, there's so much stuff that they need too. It's such an extensive list. Air defense is a deep, continuous supply of air defense is so important to defend these cities. People, I know, like Anna Consparian tried to like poo-poo like the effectiveness of our Patriot air defense systems, but they have been essential in defending Ukrainian civilians in Kiev. I've seen them work firsthand, man. They are fucking accurate, man. The air defense systems are super important. Demining equipment is super important. And of course, air support is unbelievably important. Everybody I talk to, it's F-16s, F-16s, F-16s. Those are the big three I hear, and that's what I usually hear from soldiers. I wonder if they'll say anything different. I know, since it's 3rd Assault Brigade, they might actually talk about tanks and a lot of armor stuff.
Seriously?
Man, I can't believe... It's 3rd Assault, yeah, actually. I didn't say that earlier, but it's 3rd Assault Brigade, so it's like the elite of Azov.
The Cindies are making a comeback! We're making a comeback, boys! Let's go!
Are you? Oh, damn.
Because the Union State has charged into the Constitutional American Republic.
Gotcha.
And so we've...
By the way, in the next 10 to, like, 15 minutes, I'm gonna have to wrap this up, because I have a morning show I gotta be on. At 8 o'clock here, and it's 7.
One of my people in my chat is asking, do you think your association with Azov, even the removal of the far right ones, because that has happened to it, will have an effect on your life after the war?
It might. Tough shit. As a journalist, I don't go and meet people who are your, like, mundane Joe Schmo, like, I don't really believe anything controversial, or I don't, I just kind of live my life and play Paradox games all day. No, sometimes I'm gonna meet people who are fantastic human beings in all aspects, sometimes I'm gonna meet people who are more complicated, sometimes I'm gonna meet people who are absolutely terrible. I would interview war criminals if given the opportunity. Like, actual, just, like, war criminal, like, genocidal maniacs. From a journalistic perspective, it has to be documented. And so, despite whatever you think of Azov, like, the views and what motivates them and what it's like fighting in the 3rd Assault Brigade, which is the elite of the elite, who is, like, clobbering the Russians around Bakhmut, I think it's important for a historical purpose. If that means that my image gets permanently damaged because I wanted to make sure that future generations of Ukrainians understands what sacrifices were made and what it looked like during the largest war in Europe since World War II, which was their liberation struggle. The struggle, this one of the most important, if not the most important war in Ukrainian history. Yeah, I'll take that hit if necessary. To say, yeah, as a journalist, I interviewed soldiers. Does that, because if that's the perspective I take, that associating with them in any way would destroy my image, then here's a question: does that mean no one should ever be able to interview any Russian soldier ever? Because associated with the Russian army is unbelievably disgusting. But interviewing Russian soldiers, from a historical point of view, I do believe is important.
I do too.
So if I have to fall on the sword for that, I have to fall on the sword for that.
I'd be very interested to see what the average Russian soldier will end up saying once he doesn't have the threat of a bayonet or a firing squad pointed at him.
That assumes that that's going to happen anytime soon. Even if they lose the war, get pushed out. I mean, there would have to be a collapse of the regime, right? Because it's not like you have freedom of expression in Russia.
I am reasonably confident that I think that the biggest issue they have is if once Putin dies, the regime dies with him. Pretty sure.
You believe that?
Yeah. Mainly because he is, for the simple reason, the reason I think that is because unlike other types of regimes that you could see, like, no matter what happened throughout American history, for example, there's always been a sort of reactionary counterculture that prevents anything from changing in the US. Like, the United States has shifted over the long term, sure, but like, can you honestly see like a full-scale wing to the left taking place in the US? I can't. Like,
what do you mean, like period, or what do you mean?
Like, just in general. Like, I don't
ever. I can see it happening one day. Yeah,
I can see it happening one day, but I would, forgive me for saying it, I think in the case of the United States, I think Posadists are right. Like, it would take
what?
It would take like, there would need to be an American Civil War that completely destroys the country, a nuclear holocaust, or the complete collapse of global markets for anything to change in the United States. I would say. But that's just me being nihilistic, because the sheer amount of power that corporate interests have in the United States over your legislators right now dwarfs anything even in our country, even in other capitalist countries.
I mean, the United States is face that we have surmounted.
Yeah,
I don't believe that it is impossible. I remember Karl Marx originally thought that there was going to be like communist revolution in the United Kingdom or in heavily industrialized societies, and he tried to find justifications for it and find these predictions of where predict as hard as possible, trying to find out where it's going to happen, and he was far off as possible. The last place he would think it would happen is somewhere like Russia, which has always been one of the most reactionary states in Europe. Whether it held on to feudalism for dear life. I mean, the Russian idea, which is heavily promoted these days, is the idea that Russia has a duty given to them by God to push against the degenerate West. Back then, it was like the Catholics and the Enlightenment. Now it's a little different, but that is the last environment you would expect the socialists to come from in Karl Marx's perspective, but that's where it came from. That's where it popped up. So the idea that I could say that it's impossible completely or without some like horrible complete destruction of the United States, I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily true. I still think it's highly unlikely, and I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. But
by invoking the Russian Revolution, you kind of prove my point. Because in every single case where a communist
it also depends what you mean by leftist. By the way, it also depends.
I wouldn't consider the Soviet Union intrinsically left. I would say it is left wing in terms of like stratification of the economy, but I would not consider it a true socialist movement. And people are going to say, "Oh, that's the most true socialist argument." But think about it this way: a lot of the policies of the imperial regime once Stalin had taken power were continued under his government. So Russification continued under the Soviet Union. Suppression of ethnic minorities, pogroms against the Jewish community, all the progressive reforms that were supposedly supposed to take place under the Soviet Union did not take place, or were incredibly mutilated from what their original intention would.
Or reversed.
Yeah, all reversed. The original Bolsheviks and the original revolutionaries who crusaded for that reform and who truly believed in socialism and communism, the only survivor of the original Bolshevik crusaders who founded the Soviet Union was Alexandra Kollontai. And the only reason Alexandra Kollontai managed to survive is because she was too popular for Stalin to kill. Every single other member of the old Bolsheviks in the original Politburo were all shot. Or had their ice pick driven through their head, in the case of the man who actually
what
deserved.
goes around comes around.
Look, all I'm going to say is, when
I mean, I'm in Ukraine right now. I don't have exactly the best view of the Bolsheviks.
Yeah, when we entered into play and made incursions into the south, the Vietnamese forces, did they mass execute people? Did they do roundups and shit? No. Even the capitalists and some of the right wing elements were left. They left them to leave. The only people that Ho Chi Minh's guys went out of their way to shoot were the Trotskyists, and you do the math.
Is that true?
Yes.
That's funny. That's actually just. I'm sorry. That's sad, but that's hilarious. I didn't know that.
The NVA, like the North Vietnamese army, organized a huge purge of they even purged Viet Cong because there were some Viet Cong elements who were Trotskyists and they all got shot. Like they even let some of the fascists get away and just leave the country, but they shot the Trotskyists, which I don't know about you. That seems like a good idea to me. Anyone who's been on a university campus with a Trotskyist understands my pain. And I don't
know. I get called a Trotskyist. I don't know why. I've never.
You are not a Trotskyist. The way I define Trotskyist is.
I feel like, but no. When I hear people call me a Trotskyist, it feels like they're just calling me a Trotskyist because I believe America should intervene in Ukraine, and I don't really understand why that's.
Yeah,
it's like they're all saying like, "Oh, neocons are just Trotskyists of all," and then they'll call me. I don't know. It's very confusing.
Well, yes, you could argue that Hasan's point about like how America should intervene and stop aid to Ukraine in order to force them to accept peace negotiations with Russia is a Trotskyist position. Because it's using Western imperialist power to like push the interests of the working class. In this case, it's the Russian working class they're pushing the interests of, or at least ostensibly, and the Ukrainian working class because Ukrainians aren't going to die because they're obviously going to lose to Russia. So the more people who survive it's better. And so if we're invoking the power of Western imperialism to save lives, then obviously it's a good thing.
Let them have it.
Trotskyists are tankies who are mad that they didn't get to be tankies. It's what Trotskyists are. They're mad they didn't get to do the gulags and the death camps and the purges.
Call in.
And that...
I'd be mad too.
Yeah, 100%. It's literally when you look at their policies side by side.
Move out.
So the industrialization and the things that led to the Holodomor,
Move out.
Trotsky's policies. The rapid militarist industrialization of the Soviet Union was directly adapted from Trotsky's party program, and so under Trotsky, all of that would have happened, and quite possibly you wouldn't have had the intense level purgings of the military, because Trotsky was commissar for war under the Bolshevik Politburo during the Civil War. So that's one of the biggest arguments that they use. Tukhachevsky, for example, was brought up on charges of treason in supporting Trotsky and being a Nazi spy, even though Tukhachevsky's biggest argument for the professionalization of the Red Army was to be ready to fight Nazi Germany. So,
Sounds like a bunch of common nonsense to me.
Yeah, that's right. Freedom, America.
Freedom, America. Free markets, free people. Yeah.
That argument. Every time I hear it, I feel of my brain cells cry out in terror, and suddenly.
Yo, have you tried? Wait, you live in Australia, right?
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure. I like Australia, New Zealand. Okay, all the same. Anyway, I need to ask.
Jesus Christ.
What is the Coca-Cola like over there?
Absolutely fucking miles better than American.
See, Europeans keep telling me, and all these different people keep telling me Coca-Cola's better. Then I try the Coca-Cola, and I'm like, this is not the Coca-Cola I grew up with. This is bad. I don't like it. And I figured out what it is, and it's probably true about your country too, because your country is run by Marxist, Leninist, communists as well, Stalinists. The problem is that you guys take all the good stuff out of it, the stuff that'll kill you, and we allow it to stay in.
Absolutely, that's 100% it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. You gotta put the stuff that'll kill you in it. You gotta give a little to get a little, you know?
Oh, you've used your last whore part. People are complaining that your yeehaw did not have enough American spirit.
What does that mean? What was I supposed to... What was wrong with my yeehaw? What do they mean my yeehaw needs more American spirit?
I can't, oh god. Do we have a... oh, wow. Do we have a... His voice literally cracked mid-yeehaw.
Oh, come on. Now that was an audio trick. This is all lies.
Lies and slander.
Lies and slander from radical yeehawists in your chat.
Oh boy. Alright, so let's send a spy. Do we have a spy? Let's send a spy out to Berlin. See what's going on. Meanwhile, in America, things are going well.
All in.
Man, this America Civil War is going to go for frickin' ever, man.
Yeah, it's going, isn't it? It's not going anywhere, is it?
Spanish Civil War's doing alright, though. We seem to be winning.
Yes, sir.
Are we?
Slowly. But the CNTFA is getting bigger. Oh, the Ottoman Empire just broke.
Hey, get fucked. Rebellion, damn, they're falling. Jesus. Well, I mean, you just can't catch a break, can they? IRL and online.
All in.
You remember that time? You remember that time that Trump ordered that withdrawal from Syria and all of our allies got murdered by the Turks? That was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, I actually almost dropped out of college because of that. That made me unbelievably depressed.
Yeah, you strike me as the type of guy who if he had been in this journalism game at the time would have embedded with the YPG.
Well, absolutely. I might still.
Unfortunately, the YPG and their associates are a registered terrorist organization here in Australia, so I can't talk nice about them publicly.
Well, I am a terrorist, so I can.
But, you know, they were our allies, and we, you know, abandoned them. Speaking of Syria, holy crap! Let's go, boys!
Oh, something happened in Syria.
Damascus declares independence from the Ottoman Empire. Oh boy, everything's kicking off. Don't talk to me about What If Alt Hist, one of the worst channels on here. Yo, I found a guy the other day who was absolutely...
Africa's falling apart. Jesus. Okay, no, continue. Sorry.
I found a guy online the other day. I found a YouTube history channel. I clicked on his video by accident. I was like, you know what? I'm curious. Let's see how this goes. It just randomly popped up in my feed. And it was called The Myth of Appeasement. And I was like, okay. So...
The myth of appeasement.
Of
That's
appeasement, right?
interesting.
And I thought, well, this is going to be interesting. Let's see how this goes. This dude straight up made the Mosley argument. I'm not even shitting you. He made the Oswald Mosley argument. He got up on YouTube, unironically, and said that Churchill and that he was actually directly funded by a shadowy organization, which he was. He was funded by an anti-Hitler coalition action group.
Based.
The way he phrased it was very along
I wish,
the line.
I wish, dude, what a horrible, I am funded by an anti-Hitler organization group. Whoa!
Yeah.
Okay, they don't like Hitler.
Yeah, and the way he said it made me, he said it in the same way I hear some people talk about international finance. Let me put it that way.
Yo, if anybody in chat wants to give me some anti-Hitler money, I'd love some.
Yeah, bro, right? Anyway, he then goes and talks about the rights of German minority groups to self-determination and the persecution and massacres being committed by Poland and Czechoslovakia. And he talks about how, Churchill was just a warmonger and Hitler's demands were actually quite reasonable and that Neville Chamberlain was doing the right thing. And I'm just like, have I just found Goebbels' long-lost grandson? Like, I was listening to him. I was just like, what the what? Like, I was waiting for him to say, to, like, fully double down and say Poland attacked Germany, like, the assault on the radio station. I was fully expecting him to say it. I was like, oh my god. I didn't think this was real.
You know, an aspect of the war that isn't talked about much, and I think it might just because people just, I don't know, so much has happened, people forget very quickly. It's actually hard to find articles about it now. But at the start of the war, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a supposed Ukrainian invasion of Russia that the footage was released of. That the Russians were complaining about, and then it was geolocated, and it was found to be an occupied territory, meaning it was Russian soldiers that dressed up like Ukrainian soldiers and filmed themselves invading Russia to act as a justification to invade Ukraine, supposedly in an anti-Nazi operation, not knowing that they're using the exact same tactics that the Nazis used to invade Poland.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I think I'm not a big fan of this Putin and invasion thing.
You know what? I can't exactly blame you, man. I cannot exactly blame you. I'm a bit sus about the whole thing myself, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that it wasn't exactly, I think a little bit of this might be a little disingenuous, I'm still waiting for those chemical weapons. I'll get those weapons of mass destructions to be found.
Oh, dude. The history of the Holocaust is, Wait, what? Peace conference? Freedom for Africa!
Oh, snap! Congratulations to Zanzibar and everyone else. Jesus Christ, it's collapsed. Jeez, what's happening in Africa? Yo, what's going on over there?
Decolonization.
Wow, yeah, no, they're tearing apart.
Hey, check it
The
out.
Germans.
Hermann Goering's in charge of, Hermann Goering's in charge over here.
Whoa! Look at Hermann Goering! Oh my god! Yo, why does he look so cool? That's not... Don't make Hermann Goering look that cool. What the fuck? What is he up to? And he named it Gorinia?
Dude, check him out. He's going ham right now.
What the fuck? Yo, Gorninia? I want to start Bernzizia, man. That's awesome.
Wow, look at that.
That's he's not allowed to look that cool. That's bullshit.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. Look at
I
that.
guess. Well, the thing is, before he became a fat art stealing loser, I mean, he wasn't like a fighter pilot ace, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
I guess maybe this is a world where he never got fat and he just kept flying until he got scarred or something. I don't know, but that's fun. Goring loyalism. Goring nationalism, rarely called Goringism or Goring loyalism, is the loose and ill-defined term for Hermann Goring's own personal ideology, espousing ideas of German supremacism, militarism, nationalism, kleptocratic practices, institutionalized corruption, bastardization of monarchism, and hedonism. This decadist thought form ties together all the aspects of Goring's twisted and self-indulgent personality, form-fitted to his personal fiefdom. As he sets himself up as a fake monarch, a fox monarch in Africa, others around the world look to his image and copy his methods as they seek to build their own fiefdoms as well.
Goering has quite literally become an African warlord.
Yo, man, that's crazy. What was that guy? What was that guy's name? That German African mercenary. You know, do you know who I'm talking about? What was his name?
African mercenary?
Yeah, the German African mercenary. You know the guy that fought in the Congo Civil War? Somebody, one of your chatters will know. They're nerds. Oh, Muller, Congo Muller. You know Congo Muller?
Rings of actually, you know what? No.
I wanna. Can I give you some homework?
Yeah.
So what? Make you watch some GDR propaganda a little bit. So there's this old GDR interview where they went to Africa and interviewed a former Wehrmacht soldier that was fighting as a mercenary for the Congolese government. He would wear his Iron Cross with its big old swastika and like walk around. He was called they called him the Laughing Man. They called it the Laughing Man, the interview they did with him. And it is a fantastic interview. It is something that honestly really partially inspired me to do a lot of the interviews that I do. I would recommend you watch it. It's very, very, very interesting.
I've been meaning to do another ace biography, like another fighter ace biography, along a similar vein.
We should find a way to collaborate on something like that. Some historical thing like that. That'd be cool.
That'd be fun, because the problem with this one is you can't interview any of his... Oh, maybe. There's a Polish fighter pilot by the name of Jan Zumbak. And basically he broke his leg in like a skiing accident or something before the war started, and had to sneak out of Poland via Romania. Goes to France, flies in the French Air Force, fights the Luftwaffe. The French lose, so he flies to Britain. Joins 303 Squadron, fights in the Battle of Britain, shoots down 8 Bf-109s. Flies over and becomes a squadron leader in the Royal Air Force and flies over Europe. Gets shot down in the last days of the war while flying a training aircraft from one base to another. Ends up being captured. Busts out. War ends. Now, Poland has been taken over by the Soviets. Fuck going home. Right? Screw that. It's a bad idea. So Jan's like, you know what? I got a better idea. I should use my flying skills and my war experience to make a living. So I think I'll do that. So he decides to get a flying job. Problem is, the goodwill towards Polish migrants is gone. Now that the war's over, we don't need you Poles here anymore. You should go home back to Poland. So he can't find a job anywhere, so he decides, well, you know what? I'll go into business for myself. And I've decided to title his video, because when I did Hans-Joachim in Marseille, I did the real-life Maverick. In this case, Jan Zumbak, the real-life Han Solo. The man literally decides, all right, I'm going to become a smuggler, and becomes an international smuggler through Europe. Like, he smuggles fake Rolexes, he smuggles guns, drugs maybe, I don't know, he just smuggles
God,
shit.
isn't that the life? Sorry, continue.
He just smuggles shit in and out of Europe. And then he finally settles down in France and starts a major intra-European smuggling operation. And then
I love when that happens. It's
the
one of my favorite
French
activities.
the French decolonization era starts happening, and you get all those breakaway states. So some of you will have seen there was a big controversy on GunTube the other day about a certain scene in the siege of Jadotville regarding the Bren.
Oh, I actually saw that thumbnail. I
Yeah.
can't believe I'm feeling with this. By the way, my bolt's gonna be here in 4 minutes, so we do need to see about wrapping up stream because I need to be there very soon. I'm actually gonna be a little late, so
Yeah.
but I'm having fun. I extended this a little bit.
So, so there's been a bit of the movie that's based on the siege of Jadotville is set during the Katanga separatist crisis. While this is going on, Jan Zumbach, rumored to be prodded as an international smuggler, and someone who doesn't like the communists very much, so it's very much rumored that it was on the aid of French intelligence. Jan Zumbach goes over to Katanga and literally becomes a flying African warlord. He sets up mercenary air forces in these breakaway African states, working for Charles de Gaulle's government, right? And so he becomes the head of the Air Force of Katanga, right?
It's so weird how much of like that period, how much of that was like not like how much of the militaries that were just made up of just foreigners. The Congolese Civil War is the best example of it, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing about Jan Zumbach's life. He escapes from Poland, fights the Nazis throughout all of World War II, becomes a double fighter ace, then becomes an international smuggler in Europe, then becomes a literal African warlord founding air forces throughout Africa. And then, after all of that, comes back to France, retires, and opens a mafia nightclub in Paris.
I mean, isn't that every man's dream?
Yeah, and here's the thing. After he opens this mafia nightclub in Paris, he dies. Like, a couple years later, in mysterious circumstances, the French government opens the investigation into his death. The French police open an investigation into suspicious death. A month and a half later, on orders of the French government, the investigation is closed and the record sealed.
Damn.
So this guy is a hero of World War II, winner of Poland's highest decoration, becomes an international arms smuggler, an African warlord, mafia nightclub owner, and then is most likely murdered by French intelligence to cover up their crimes in West Africa.
Wow.
Man lived like a rock star.
That is a rock star living, man.
Absolutely.
One can only dream to emulate. Okay, man, I 100% actually need to get going. If I don't, I'm gonna miss the show. Thank you so much for playing with this. We need to pick this game up, though.
Yeah, we do. We'll make sure we save this one.
Yeah, we'll do another one since I'm going to Azov Town next week. Maybe not next week, or maybe the week after. We'll figure out a day, and we'll continue this. I'm saving the file.
Yep, I just saved it too.
So thank you so much for this stream. I appreciate you having me on. Where can people find you if people during my stream wanted to see all your history content?
My history content you can find at Animarchy History on YouTube or Animarchy YT on Twitch when I stream on Twitch, which is usually my armor operations. I don't generally tend to advertise on there. Or you can find me on Twitter at Animarchy YT on Twitter if you want to see me collectively lose my mind at all the people I see be stupid online. I've been waging war against anti-Semitism recently that I've been seeing crop up on TikTok and Twitter. So if you want to see me waging the war of justice and freedom, etc. on Twitter, you can come watch that too. But yeah, Animarchy History on YouTube is where you'll find me.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for coming on. If anybody on his stream wants to find me, you can find my main channel at Dylan Burns TV. You're going to have to scroll down a bit. I don't know what's with the search algorithm. That's my main channel. You get all my journalistic content. I get shot at for a living, so I got footage of that. I'm a war journalist. That's what you'll find there. As for my second channel,
click on his name, which is in the title of my stream, you can find a
True, you could do that too. You could do that. For my second channel, that's Dylan Burns Live. That's where you get more live stream content like this. I greatly appreciate it. Twitter is Dylan Burns 1776. Thank you so much for taking the time to play some games with me today.
Yeah, my dude. See you on the flippity side.
See you later, man. Bye-bye.
Oh, boy. Yeah, guys. I lost my sanity on Twitter. I lose my sanity on Twitter. Oh, boy. That was a long stream, huh? That was a really long stream. We were streaming for what? Almost 3.5 hours. God damn. All right. That man streamed literally all day. No, Twitter is not good for anyone's mental state. As for updates on my channel, there is a video on isolationism and the war in Ukraine. I will, as I said, I will warn you, I chose violence. I am being very, very aggressive against pretty much all sides of the political spectrum and against Western governments. I will also have other content, historical content. After the next video, we are finally, hopefully, doing, after all this time, the first part of my complete history of Russian fighter aviation and all the absolute chicanery that went on and how terrible it was. The video on Soviet aviation history is coming. I have just reached World War II, and it is already 11 pages long. That is just how much stupid bullshit that the Russian/Soviet aviation industry was at the time. Seriously, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was this bad. Even a plain nerd like me, every deep dive I did, I just uncovered more stupidity. That's why it's taken so long, guys. It's just every time I dive in, it gets dumber. And I have to pay the bills, so sponsors ask me to do videos regularly, so there is that too. But, anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thank you very much for my super chatters. We got a lot of good responses from the chats today. Not as rough as that, but close. Oh. The SE57 video is going to be over an hour long. Not in of itself. Oh. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I will see you all a later time. Bye, guys. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thank you.